favor. This is one more, please.
I sometimes forget the camera's there.
Yeah,
and then I'm like, oh, let me look at the camera real quick. Like if I'm saying something to a certain audience, it's just weird to think about yourself. Like, oh, I'm being recorded. Like every single thing is being recorded. I forget.
Yeah. When he wants to make it a point to someone, he looks at the camera and says, "Baby, I love you." And that's usually like a message to me, to the Richie in the future that's editing.
Yeah, I'll try to keep that in mind.
How are y'all today?
Doing good. It feels like a December type day with the rain and then hace frío. Yeah, so I don't know.
Weather's been shit, man. Like today feels like how my entire week has felt. just like a gray, shitty blur of uncomfort. I'm not lying, man. Like I was telling Richie earlier that at work I feel like every day has been 100 miles per hour.
Yeah.
And I was like, shit, it's only Thursday. Like I felt like I've worked 2 weeks in 1 week.
Yeah.
Dude, it does feel weird. It was actually nice on Monday and Tuesday, pretty hot. Ayer, the temperature started lowering, but this morning is frío.
Mm-hmm.
But like the type of frío that you don't even want to leave the house. And I was like, crap, man.
Was it San Marcos cobija frío?
I know, dude.
Not yet.
Pernadito con la esposa.
Ya la tenía guardada.
Yeah.
San Marcos, güey.
Literally, ya había guardado todas lo de la lluvia, you know, everything. I already put it up. And now I'm already like wearing shorts. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to wear shorts tomorrow. And now I'm like, well, the Ricardo after this is going to have to worry about that. But this Ricardo's enjoying this warm inside.
Motto, La Popular, hot chocolate. You know, if you didn't know, I don't do Abuelita because Abuelita's one by Nestle.
That's right.
What's the other one? That's Ibarra.
Ibarra. Those are the ones that are
like independent, like true, like
Origen
Mexicanos. Yeah, exactamente.
Yes. You don't do Nestle, or
I used to until I found out that it was. I mean, nothing wrong with Nestle. I'm just saying,
right.
like, you know,
it's just like a Swedish owner somewhere up in Europe.
Yeah. It might be like Mexican in origin, but it's owned by
right
by Nestle. So,
yeah. Do you do Goya?
More, you know. Not anymore. Not anymore, Charlie.
Not since 2021.
That was a trap.
That was a trap. Not since 2021.
Yeah, I haven't done Goya. So we always buy the galletas Marias for the kids, but I don't.
Yeah.
Buy the others.
La Otra. But welcome to Otra, por favor.
Otra, por favor.
Thank you. I'm really glad to be here. Long time fan.
Long-time fan, unofficial fact checker.
A little bit of everything.
The illustrious Cris Rubio.
Do you know what? Now we should like actually, hopefully they come up with what was that cup that I said? There was like the supporters cup. I forget the name of it, but there was the one that we got fact checked on.
Dang. Who, other people fact checking y'all or?
No, the supporters.
Oh,
I said supporters shield.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
So,
like, no. Just to clarify for this was an episode like so. I'm actually really mad at Ram too because like one and I only said this because I remember it was the first game of the Premier League season. It was a Friday and Koke shows up to the tavern where we watch Arsenal.
That's right.
And I was just like, hey, Koke, just some feedback because I come from I'm an educator and we'll talk about like my profession a little bit, but I come from a place where you get feedback like all the time. Mm-hmm. Good feedback, like growth feedback. Even like I love to cook and I'm always asking my suegra, my sister-in-law, my wife, like how did it taste? How was it? Because I want to make it better, obviously. So I was just like, oh, you know what? You said supporter shield, but it's actually community shield. But I hope maybe I came off as an asshole.
No. We made a joke out of it.
Great.
Yeah.
But then Ram, like a couple episodes later, when Chiellini was coming to LAFC, y'all were talking about. I think it was when Ram and Alexis were on.
That's right.
And then it's mispronounced, which I'm probably gonna mispronounce some players today. But anyways, I just saw Ram en confianza. Le dije. I was like, Ram, it's Chiellini, not Chiellini. He's like, oh, okay. I was like, but don't tell the guys. Okay, and the next thing I know, putting it on blast. So.
The thing about Ram, you tell Ram, and the world's gonna know, bro. That's the thing. Nah, shout out to Ram Sizzle, Ramiro. We love that guy. And it was just funny, like when he told us that, I'm like, shit.
So now
I love that you were listening though, and you're like, all right.
I think you
that means someone's paying attention.
And that's paying attention.
There was an episode where y'all mentioned it. So. So yes, the fact. I guess the fact checker's here, but again. As things will play out, I will make many mistakes today. I will
that's life, man. Life is a bunch of mistakes.
I've learned to like, I'm always messing up on names, numbers, whatever, but I've learned to like have fun with it, you know? Like I think because, I mean, there's, you know, numbers that are correct and everything, but as long as you're not saying something really, really stupid, you know, it's in the conversation. Like sometimes se te pasa, like, como Cuauhtémoc, el de 7 más 4.
No.
Yes. There's a joke about it. And there's like the one thing that I like is just the fact that I always take everything that has to do with fact checking sometimes as a joke. Because I'm like, at the end of the day, es para echar, you know. Una conversación.
And I think, like, you know, someone, my first language was Spanish, but, you know, I grew up here. I grew up in the Valley, and you know, I think about my dad a lot of times who has an accent. You know, I mean, his English is good. Like, he knows English, but sometimes he'll say something incorrect or wrong, and like people will look at him weird. But he's getting the message across. And so, like, I think it's like, you know, someone who's maybe their language is in English. Like, it's okay to make mistakes. Like, as long as you're getting the point across. So.
Right,
that's true.
I think like the you know, desire to be right and perfectly accurate all the time can sometimes hold back a lot of things. You know,
absolutely.
You just gotta let it go. You gotta let it rip.
Yeah, but there's one thing like Koke has had, like when we first started, como que con el español, like he was no soltaba. But then as the episodes went on, the Koke's personality with Spanish would start coming out and coming out and coming out. And I was like, that's my boy right there.
That's the thing, man. If you don't, like, for me, if I'm not practicing it, like, it's hard to, it's like when I start speaking Spanish, I'm like, who am I? What do I think?
Yeah.
It takes a little bit more.
Right.
It takes a little bit more, pero con todo, como todo con práctica.
Yeah, or like in English, I slurred, I stutter.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. And I think, you know, when you have conversations about football, vida and cultura, as long as it's respectful, todo se vale.
That's what we do here. Otra, por favor. Fútbol, vida and cultura. We're happy to have Cris, as many of you know. He's our very special guest here. He's a writer for KIPP City Soccer, also director of high school leadership for KIPP.
Yeah, the KIPP Foundation.
KIPP Foundation.
That's my day job.
That's his day job.
Yeah,
so
that's what pays the bills.
We appreciate you coming on, man. We can't wait to get into your story. Before we do that, we did want to get a little bit into the football. Just do a little football recap. Yeah. What do y'all think?
Let's start with just a quick...
few shout-outs before we get into the football recap. Shout-outs to our sponsors. Hop Squad. For this wonderful Zapatista beer. And
Salud.
Salud.
I'm rotating them between Zapatista and Lord Sanate.
What do you feel? ¿Cuál te gusta más?
Las dos.
Hey.
Which is, I mean, it's a good problem to have, you know, because whenever you go to a place, you like having options. I'm not really big into IPAs, but it's a sienta chidito. And I know as the summer comes, they're going to have more seltzers, like, or la pepino. There's one called pepino. There's another one that, like, we made our watermelon. And those are like my favorite ones during the summer when it's hot.
Yeah.
Now es que la sandía, the watermelon one, that one's a little high on the alcohol one, so you just have to be careful.
You gotta be careful.
They sneak up on you.
Yeah. Shout out to Hop Squad, laboratory of beers there. All these wonderful flavors. Also wanted to give a shout out to Club Deportes.
Yeah.
They had us on Monday for an episode of FC TV, or that was a special episode. It was 0%.
El 0%.
No one's important. We had a blast recording with my tocayo Jorge. What did you think, Richie? How did you feel about that?
It was fun, bro. I think it was something different in Jorge's space.
That's right.
Because it's very, you know, analytical about the game. We talked about it, but there was also, you know, sometimes, like he said, in el periodismo, when you're doing journalism, which we're not journalists, you know, we're podcasters, you want to just have fun. And I think it was like the way you know, we were hanging out there. Literally, that's the way we are, like outside of the mic.
The whole idea was just to have fun. Like, literally, Jorge didn't give us a plot or an outline. He was just like, show up, and I just want you to have fun.
Yeah.
And that's what we did. I mean, if you watch it, nothing but jokes, nothing but good times. I mean, there's some criticisms here and there. We get into some good topics, but shout out to Jorge for having us on his podcast.
Yeah, man, it was good. Sure. And then Miguelito también, even though he forgot to tag Otra por favor on his tweet.
It's all good. Miguelito, Jerry, the bunch, they're great. Michelle
Jerry,
was there with
Jerry
us
number 1, Jerry number 2, Jerry number 3.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, al fútbol. Austin FC. We have an upcoming game against LAFC, one of our favorite rivals, I guess. Saturday, April 8th at 6:30 p.m. at the LAFC home. What do y'all think? Their form is looking a little bit different from our form.
Yeah. It's I will say the week off. The I don't know what you call it in football, the bye week. I guess it's like the NFL, like you got a bye week.
The bye week.
Yeah.
Hey, it's MLS. We'll call it
I've
bye
forgotten
week.
about it, right? Because there's an odd number of teams. Like obviously somebody's gonna be left out. So the bye week, I honestly couldn't have come out at a better time. Like it would have been great to have gone into the bye with the 3 points against Colorado. Obviously that didn't happen. And honestly, we should have probably just been happy with the 1 point. But I was reading Wolf's presser. I think it was yesterday when he put out just like they're working on stuff and they're trying new things. So I think the bye couldn't have come at a better time. Like they really needed like a reset because obviously things haven't gone the way that they would want, or a lot of our supporters would want.
It's a little too early in the season, like for me to have a reset. But then again, it's better to have it now than to have the reset when you're competing for playoffs. We're still in the playoff spot. We're not. I mean, technically, same as last year, but it's just the goal part is the one that that's not really there in our favor. I believe we have a -1 on the table.
Yeah.
Now the difference now is we're playing an LAFC that just beat Vancouver.
Yeah, Champions League
away.
Yeah.
So, and they're doing things right in the international level, and they're taking advantage of the roster. And basically you have players that are playing both games, back to back, like in the weekend and in the CONCACAF Champions League. For me is, I hope we don't get blown out. Yeah. I'm okay with a 1-0 loss. If we win, that's an extra step. But at the end of the day, it's just like not, minimize that goal differential because that shit will eat you at the end.
Yeah, my only desire is that Austin FC doesn't lose. I think that's like that would be a win.
Yeah,
a tie would be a win, and that's what I am predicting. But I think it's a hopeful, optimistic prediction just based on how LAFC has played recently. They just came off winning game 3-0 against. Well, last time they played us, that we played them, they beat us 3-0, and they looked so dominant in the conference final.
Yeah.
And that flavor that game left in it. With me, I'm just thinking like to go back into their stadium. I hope that the players don't go in with those memories. They look to shatter that and kind of like prove people wrong, because I think the team is under a bit of pressure now from the fans, obviously from the pundits for sure, and they're dealing with the internal pressures as well with players that maybe aren't happy that they're not having game time. This is a perfect chance to prove people wrong. And last season, that seems to be what drove this team.
Yeah.
Proving people wrong.
Yeah.
But we haven't seen that this season.
And I think it's like for us as supporters and for them too, it's hard to. So I think Richie's right. Like we're not in a bad place in the table. Like I think we're in a playoff position. We're like middle of the table in the West. So like if I think of the play, obviously there's a long way to go. But I think the stain of the Champions League result of us getting kicked out against the team that honestly we should have beaten in the Dominican Republic.
Yeah.
The Haitian team, and then they didn't even have enough players to travel. So like you're talking about a team who like didn't even
makeshift team
exactly, and so like I think that's still kind of like there, and it was a little frustrating seeing like Leon last night. They hammered them like 5-0, and it's like why couldn't we? Yep. Not that I was expecting a 5-0 win necessarily, but like that's it's still hard to let go for I think a lot of us.
There's a lot for just us to learn, like the fan wise. The team, because the whatever happened last season is great, but it's just this new season. You have a target on you.
Exactly.
There's more at loss now than was in the past, because you could have like last season, ended up in the not making it into the playoffs. nah. I mean,
right.
you would have started más relajado, but now you're like, people want
the
expectation from last season.
There's a new bar.
There's a new bar.
Yeah.
Which is good. Now, when you have a new bar, you also gotta, reforzarte. You come in when you do signings, think of who you're gonna bring, and not just sign players to sign players and fill the roster. You
right.
gotta bring quality and whatnot. And also the players that leave, like why, it's just, for me, it just felt like everything just hit all at once.
Yeah.
And we still don't have a center back, I believe.
Yeah.
The new Serbian player, he's not here yet. So I'm like,
Alexander Radovanovic.
Yeah. He's supposed to be here this weekend, according to
That's what I heard.
But I mean, get here to like the U.S. He's not going to be like.
He's not going to be ready to play. That's for sure. It sounds like they're happy with his fitness level, but that's one thing. The other thing is team chemistry. Yeah, if you're fitting, if you're understanding, if you know the system,
right?
Which I doubt he can do in the next week, 2 weeks, maybe 3.
Yeah. Oh no, I'm actually gonna Leo Basin is back from the international break, so that's good.
Yes,
I mean you have him and Ring in the back. That's helpful. Now just I would just go back with Gallagher on the left and Lima on the right. That's what worked out last season.
Yeah, I think Lima. So Colorado. I mean, the fact that we had to start we literally had no one to go with, like literally no center backs, it speaks to the summer. I guess it's not the summer transfer window; it's the winter transfer window. But the off-season transfer window is just like not successful. Like when clearly we didn't, and we lost Gabrielson. Romaña's on loan, and I think like the relationship between him and Wolf is probably not a great one because Wolf has said some things about him and his fitness. Yeah. So I think at the end of the day, like when we had to start Ring and Lima and center back, which they did decent. I mean, Ring's been great actually. Ring's been really good.
Surprisingly good in center back.
I think Lima really struggled. Not so much defensively. I think like bringing the ball out the back, Lima really struggled against Colorado. So it'll be good to have. Leo back from where is he from Finland?
Finland. Now there's one thing that I would say, and I'm gonna give is usually there's when your team is struggling es porque no tiene equipo, but we do have the team. Yeah. It's just a matter of putting the players in where they're supposed to and putting in the like going back to the formula that helped you get there.
Yeah.
Like. It takes, it has to be a change from Wolf, bringing back the mate con vos thing. That's what helped them, be successful. Still, like, add here your players, but I don't think you should add them starting up. You should, like, Saturdays should be on the bench.
But I guess, like, the question is, because it does change the style of play, right? So you start Maxi, which a lot of people have said, like, let's go Maxi. I think the problem we have, and probably other than center back, our biggest issue is at the center forward, at the top, right? Mm-hmm. Maxi can't give you the full 90. He's great. Like, it's a different style of play, right? Because Maxi will press effectively, I think. Mm-hmm. But then that style of play that means that he's not going to. I mean, Maxi's not young. He's not a young guy, right?
He'll gas himself out by like minute 60.
Right. Yeah. So I understand why Zardes would start, and then you'd want to sub Maxi in, which actually worked really well against Montreal. But the problem with Zardes is like he cannot, like his hold up play is just terrible. And that's one thing that escaping our Senegalese Gite. That's one thing Gite was really good at. Gite had some wide hips, man. You couldn't really get around him to get the ball. Yeah. And I see for such a big guy, Zardes is like, I mean, it happened against Colorado. Like he just kept falling forward and losing the ball. So it was hard to keep possession with him. And I think there's Maxi and Juicy and Sebas play really well off of each other. I think Maxi understands like the space really well, whereas Juicy, he's kind of like a false nine in a lot of ways. And so he's taking a lot of those crosses are actually winding up in his head when they should be going to like Zardes, for example. So you're right. There's like that chemistry piece that still needs to be figured out. And ideally it would have happened sooner, but it just hasn't happened yet. And hopefully it gets, figured out soon.
The midfield, I mean, the thing is like in the up top, we have the players. The defense is where we struggled. Tenemos opciones. But I think if you start a player like Maxi, 60 minutes, then bring in Zardes, and also bring in Finley instead of Rigoni.
Yeah,
that helped you out last season. And last year, I mean, literally, you won, your 2 games against LAFC with Finley on the pitch. That's what I think. We need. Rigoni, I think it's good for him to just take a step back. fitness-wise.
He just needs one goal.
He just needs one, pero es de que sale más presionado cuando empieza, because you're thinking about scoring, but you're not really thinking about assisting. Like the way they were saying, like he is more of an assisting type of player than a striker, like a goal scorer. But well, we'll see, man. I'm
it's huge test for Josh Wolf and our Verde boys, or the Oaks.
The Oaks.
They're wanting to be called.
Yeah, I don't mind the Oaks as much. I hate El Tree. I don't like El Tree. I don't know about you all. It just sounds terrible. It's like I feel
think like they should just call them Austin FC Los Verdes.
Los Verdes, Los Verde and Black.
But, but not add a something.
Tree, I don't know.
It's como que don't try to fix it when it's not broken.
They're forcing it. Yeah, I agree.
But we'll see, man. So your score or prediction?
Híjole. I think we'll get a goal. I hate predicting against my own team, but I think we'll get a goal, but I think it'll be 3-1 LA.
3-1 LA.
I call 2-2. Just being an optimist. A ver qué sale. Ojalá. 2-2.
I'm still 1-0.
1-0 loss.
Yeah.
Man, this is like the first time in a long time that I've heard tons of loss predictions. So,
you know what?
But hey, I guess you got to be real, right?
Sometimes you got to be hard on yourself. Yeah. And it's okay.
Yeah, it's also, you're talking about the champs, right? So if this were Vancouver, we were going to San Jose, like, or even basically almost any other team in the West, I'd feel like we could.
But you're playing with the los guapos.
Exactamente.
And now, like, let's move into the, anything else you guys want to add on the Austin FC part?
I don't know, something in that locker. You mentioned it, of like the vibe in that dressing room. I bet is not where it needs to be. I think there's some, say what you want. Like Owen Wolf is great. Team Wolf, I love Team Wolf. I think he's got a really great future. Obviously, he's been called up to like the U19 U.S. squad, and he's going to continue to do that if he keeps progressing the way he should. But I think like there's something going. You can't. At the end of the day, he's still Wolf's son. Like he's still the coach's son, and so there's something, I don't know. I just think like putting Wolf as your like ring being left out of the equation, at least in the midfield, something's going on. I know Diego. There's things like, I don't know. I just feel like the dressing room is obviously the wins will help, but I don't think it's like quite where it was last year.
It's pretty strained at the moment.
Yeah,
I agree on that.
A little nepotism. That's what I would say.
Yeah, Wolf, he's good. He deserves to be on the field. He's not strong enough yet.
He deserves to be on the field, but I don't think starting. I don't think you can, if you gave Ring a DP spot, you can't take it away from a DP spot and a captain. You can't take it away from him and give it to your son. That just sounds like in a normal, like time, it just sounds bad.
Yeah.
But I hope they prove us wrong. At the end of the day, we get proven wrong. I'll be the first one to say, like, you know what? Everybody was right. I was wrong.
Yep.
But
yeah, we just want the wins.
But yeah, goles son amores y enamórame.
Yeah.
Moving on to Saturday news, Copa del Rey.
The madre.
Yeah. You both Barcelona?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think Richie's a bigger Barca fan than I am, but I still root for them.
I root for them, but it's como que, man, that was just cuando no metes las manos y te golean teniendo ventaja.
Yeah.
It's just there's nothing else to like. There's no way you can defend what's not defendable.
For like a while now, Barca felt like the Real Madrid kryptonite.
Yeah.
5 wins in a row. All under Xavi. Xavineta was doing well, so I think Barca was actually favorite to win in this Copa del Rey match. But
you win in the Bernabeu 1-0 the first leg. You should be able to put it away at home, and
right.
Un empate tan siquiera.
But it's one of those things in clásicos, like sometimes home field doesn't matter, dude. Like I feel like it's almost more pressure to play in your own home.
Well, there's how many games have we seen Barcelona beat Real Madrid in the Bernabeu? And how many times have we seen Real Madrid beat Barcelona in the Bernabeu?
Right. The pressure is there, and I think it is you see in the fourth goal when Benzema scores the fourth goal, which was 3 for him that night in the back, and there was still like I think 10. It was like the 80th minute, maybe 79. You literally see people just getting up right away, like It leaves, like, you know, they're getting up to leave. And so, like, the pressure that Barcelona players are under at home, that's a good point. Like, it's home field advantage, but sometimes it's not. And last night it was not.
There's, you know, and it just goes back to like a Clásico, right? In Barcelona, they could take one step forward and two steps back. Yeah. You know, elimination from the Champions League in the first round, elimination from the Euro in the first, like, playoff round, basically the first round.
Mm-hmm.
And now this is like no, you know, like no han sabido competir en direct elimination. I mean, in the league, it's they're hopefully, I mean, they don't fuck it up. Now at this point, I'm like, man, si la cagan.
It would be monumental.
During this loss, we got a text from our good friend Ernie to the group. He was like, "What's happening to Barca?" More like trying to troll us because he's a big Arsenal fan.
Did you see my response?
Nah, I don't remember what you dijiste.
Josh was on the bench in the second half.
That's what it felt like, man.
Saludos, tío.
Damn, dude.
Any friendship that I had with him is pretty much gone after that comment.
Come on.
But I mean, I guess I'll ask you all as Barcelona fans. So look, we all know champions is champions, and I think, like, anyone will tell you, like, being the best team in Europe is that's like the holy grail, right? As far as European competitions go. But you wouldn't. I mean, would you trade places with Real Madrid right now? Like, so Real Madrid could very well win the Champions League. They got Chelsea coming up, and then obviously they're in the Copa del Rey final. They're not going to win La Liga. Like, again. Like, Barcelona's got a really, really sizable lead. So would you trade places? Like, right now, would you say, like, I would love for Barca to be in Champions and Copa del Rey, and I'm okay with Real Madrid winning the league?
If I would trade places with Real Madrid, with them being, you know, pretty much out of the race for La Liga.
Right. So I guess the question is, like, would you rather win La Liga or win Champions and potentially Copa del Rey? Well, actually, they may not even win Champions, right? But yeah, let's just say current positions.
Have a shot to win Champions and Copa.
Yeah, exactly.
I think right now it's just La Liga. It's the most doable because that one you have a little more of a like a higher possibility or probability of winning it than the Champions League. Champions League is still, like, up in the air, you know.
Right.
Knowing Barcelona, they can fuck it up. You know.
They have like a 96% probability
of La Liga. Of La Liga,
Liga.
But, like, say in the Champions League is like
right.
It's just the opposite.
Especially if you get Bayern Munich.
Yeah. No, I would absolutely trade places with where the position.
You would.
Yeah, because of all the financial troubles that Barcelona is facing, they've lost so much money by not being in Champions League
in every aspect.
Right.
Well, when it comes to the situation of competing for these tournaments, and I, like, every aspect, I don't want Barcelona to beat Real Madrid. I'm just saying.
No, like, say, like, but you want to, like, say, for example, as the club, like, the, you know, the situation, you know, like, what they're going through with the financial part, like, you would want to be in a place where Real Madrid is, like, basically.
I wouldn't want to, like, it is really hard to root for Barcelona with all the issues that they're facing outside of the team. It's difficult, man, because you start thinking about teams that are building for the future and teams that are just trying to survive. I feel like Barcelona's in that survival mode when it comes to the finances. So that's why I would want to trade places for sure.
Okay. Yeah.
It's like pájaro en mano, huele más que ciento volando, right? So you would take the unsure thing with the potential of, because you're right, Champions League money is like, and prestige is higher than La Liga. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you would take the chance at it.
So yeah, I would take the chance at it, even though right now they're pretty much guaranteed La Liga.
Yeah.
Why not?
Okay.
Gamble.
Nah. Right now it's kind of like, you know what? At least win one. Like, you know, just don't mess it up.
Sounds like you're in opposite spaces, but I respect that.
What would you do?
That's a good question, man. It's funny because for all the Ronaldo teams of Real Madrid, I mean, they're incredible teams, right? And so are Barcelona's. But I think Ronaldo only won. Y'all probably know better than I do. He may have only won La Liga twice when he was there. I know he won Champions, 4 times?
Yeah, he won Mr. Champions.
Yeah, so that's a good question. I know Zidane himself even said, you know, and this is a Champions League winning manager, he said it was harder to win La Liga because you have to be more consistent. And then in Champions, you can kind of get lucky. Not lucky, but like, you know, the knockouts, right, which I don't know how you get lucky and win 4 Champions League, though.
It's just the momentum. Like, you know, once you know you can win it, you take advantage of it. And that's what Real Madrid did.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess to answer the question, I would take the for sure. And I would be like, we got La Liga. I know everybody wants champion, but it's a process. And obviously they need trophies to sustain. They gambled on their performance this season.
Yeah.
But I think it's a step in the right direction. Like winning La Liga is a step in the right direction. And you know, you live to fight another day, I guess, next season as far as European competitions are concerned.
Yeah, I think for me, why I would say La Liga is because you need confidence at this point.
Yeah.
After you know 3 eliminations from direct, you know, like 3 direct eliminations, you need something, especially with what you did with Spotify and all the financial problems that has been going on. You need a little, you know, a little help me out type of thing. And La Liga is, you know, it's more of a merit thing. Okay, there's that process. You can see the light. But if for me, if say for example, they, you know, if I was on the other side, then there would still be super like, you know, like you wouldn't know, you don't know what's gonna happen next type of thing, you know. Yeah. But that's just why I would say like, I'll pick La Liga.
I guess other Barca related question, just because I don't get to talk to as many Barca fans as I would like. Messi sounds like he's not gonna come back to PSG. I don't think he should either. I think like he's just like another. I don't know. PSG's a bunch of, I don't know who said it. Some players said like they're just a bunch of amazing players and they haven't quite figured it out.
There's no cohesiveness.
Yeah. And plus, Mbappe's their future easily. What is it? I mean, you take Messi back, you know, knowing who Messi was when he was at Barcelona, like Messi's a very quiet individual externally, but internally and everything you read, like he commanded, like a lot of the decisions kind of went through him. And so I don't know what, you know, let's just say theoretically, I mean, hypothetically, Messi's on the table. Like, do you take him, is it welcome back home, or, you know what, let's just move forward and
man, anytime you get a chance to have a player like Messi on the field on your side is a win in my eyes, is a great, amazing option that I don't see how you can pass up.
Yeah.
Do I think that it's a good move for like the long term of Barcelona? I don't think so, because I think they would have to continue to sell their future to afford a player like Messi. So it's like it's one of those things that would be an immediate short-term gamble for success today versus setting yourself up for the future. That being said, I don't think it's a good long-term move. But knowing how Barcelona is, how they just judging them on their recent behavior of how they try to go for players, they're going to try to go for him as with the best offer they can give him, and even if they have to sell more of their future stake, whether that be TV rights or whatever. Yeah. Like they'll continue to sell their soul for their Messiah.
Yeah.
I think, man, I hope Messi can come in for free.
Yeah.
You know? That'd be the best. That'd be ideal. That'd be the most ideal thing.
But when you have freaking I don't know who offered him like 43
Saudi Arabia,
433 million, and then you have the Inter Miami, like MLS, potentially all teams contributing to his payout. Like, that's crazy.
Now the one thing is, it'll be up to him now. Like, hey, does he want to go make the money or just come back to, you know, to his roots where everything started? Like, where, like, would he come back to help his team out? You know, like his hometown, basically.
Yeah.
I don't know, dude. Like, I would take Messi if he was free. If there was the option, or at least, you know, like, hey, this is how much we can pay you. Honestly, be honest with him.
Right.
This is how much we can't pay you $10, but we can pay you $2.
Yeah.
You know, and give you some shares of the company.
I mean, what does he need at this point? Like, financially, anyway. Like, what is he? He doesn't need to financially. Do you need more money? Like, the guy's like he's probably earned hundreds of millions of dollars, if not close to $1 billion by this point. Like, I don't know. But I guess I'm not in that position, so nor will I ever be.
Richie, anything else to say on the Barcelona situation?
Man, it's one of those that not until they win La Liga I can celebrate.
Right.
Yeah. Not until the
fat lady
season's over.
Mathematically, it's coming.
I don't. Los merengues nunca los puedes dar por muertos. You know, because Barcelona can go on how many game winning loss.
Right.
That could be potential. Hopefully, it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
I don't know, dude. I'm usually very optimistic about my teams, but now it's kind of like this past one's kind of like, wait. El único es el América que sí, they're coming through.
Yeah, sure.
And I just say I have no dog in the Barcelona Real Madrid fight, although back in the day, Ronaldinho, so maybe I leaned a little bit more to Barcelona or do, but man, when you look at that team, and obviously they have like the very, very well established older players, the Benzema, Modric, who's like, man, how good is he still? Cruz, Courtois, but their youth, man, like Vinny's like 22 years old. Camavinga's he was flawless last night.
He's a stud, man.
20 years old. Chouameni is 23, I think. Rodrigo's somewhere around like 20, 21, 22. Who am I leaving out? Even Valverde is only like 24. So like, man, just like
they got a team for the future.
That's gotta be exactly. Yeah. And they signed that kid from Brazil, Endrick, who's like 16, but he's supposed to be like the next thing. So it's like they've done really well with their youth. And they've kind of spent the money. They spent a lot on these players, but it's like still cheaper to pay what you did for Camavinga now than when he's 25, 26. So
and I mean they even had Odegaard, right?
Yeah, they did.
One man's trash, it's another man's treasure, baby. I think that's a good segue to the EPL, man. We got to talk about Arsenal. We got one of the main Gooners, if not the main Gooner of Austin. Texas. What's going on, baby? Arsenal, how you feel? Top of the league?
Man, it's been a long time. Yeah. So it's been 19 years since Arsenal had kind of like the dream season, the perfect season. They won. They didn't lose a match in 2003, 2004, the invincible season. Sorry. So it's been a long time since Arsenal won the league, but it hasn't been as long since. It just feels good to be in the conversation, like. And I know, like, we were just talking about Barcelona. Barcelona's in the conversation pretty much every year. There's a couple years where maybe they're knocked out of La Liga, but in terms of, like, the league, it's been a long time since Arsenal's been in that conversation. Probably when Leicester won the league in 2014-15, which is about, like, 7-8 years ago.
Crazy.
We finished second, and, gosh, that was a good opportunity for us then. But, like, to be 8 points up right now, and I know City have a game in hand, and it's Manchester City. So, I mean, you talk about Real Madrid can easily come back on y'all. I don't think they will, but like City could very easily still win the league. But I'm just enjoying it's. Look, I don't know about everyone else. Obviously, you want to win, but you just want to watch good football, and that's why you support the teams that you do. You want to see the players, on the pitch the way they do, fight for each other. Obviously, score beautiful goals. So it's just been fun because it wasn't fun to watch. Arsenal towards the end of Wenger's time. Unai Emery did not go super well, and then even at the beginning with Arteta, like we won the FA Cup in his first, not even his first full season, but his first season, and then it was just a rough couple of years. And so last year we barely missed out on the Champions League, and I think that in a way that was good because it gave the players that motivation. And then you bring in two players from City, Zinchenko and Gabriel Jesus, who just have this mentality. Like they came in here and they're like, we're going to win the league, and so the players like started to believe that. So it's just been, there's so many good stories with the Arsenal team. I mean, you mentioned Odegaard. Crazy to believe that you could argue the two best players in the Premier League right now are both from this tiny Scandinavian country, Norway.
That's right. Haaland and Odegaard.
Like crazy that two Norwegians are like killing it right now in the Premier League. So, but anyways, it's been fun. But now we're getting to the point of the season where, like, I mean, every game matters, but like now it's like if you drop points,
the margin of error is
so small. Very small. And we're at a point now with 9 games left to go, so that's a max. We're at 72 points. City's 8 below us. They have a game in hand. The magic number is 23, and so that means if let's just say we beat Liverpool this Sunday, which is a huge match. We got to go to Anfield, and then if City drop points. So let's say we win, they drop 3 points, then the magic number is -6, so 23 -6. I'm a math major, but I'm struggling. 17. So like we're getting to that point now where like every point matters.
It does.
And so any City loss is huge. Any Arsenal loss is huge. And then we got City at the end of the month in Manchester. So it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, I got Liverpool this weekend, man.
I know.
Richie, the newest Liverpool fan on the block, bro. Man, this man's been serving for 19 years, man.
Yeah, and but of course there's clubs. There's English clubs who won't win a title in people's lifetime. So 19 years is a long time, but I'm sure like Everton fans are like
Everton fans,
Tottenham fans.
Yeah, like
Tottenham won't win a trophy in a long time.
Had Vieira back in the day.
It's a tough life.
Yeah.
No, dude. The Premier League this season has been incredible for me to watch. I mean, it's year after year, it continues to entertain and dazzle. But this one's special because, like, you look at City and their form and the way they play, it's almost like an expected thing. It's an inevitability. They're gonna score by a lot. They're gonna win games by a lot. They're gonna look dominant. They're just gonna destroy teams. And I kind of expect that. But you look at Arsenal at the beginning of the season, who would have said that it would have gone this way?
Right.
Mm.
But like we talked about these players coming from, from different clubs. Odegaard came from Real Madrid. You have De Jesus that came from Man City as well as Zinchenko. To fit into the system with Arteta and to work so well, and then the young and up-and-coming players like Bukayo Saka to like all mesh together so well, it talks to you about an organization, a system that works and people buy into it, and the players are just feeding off of each other. So like it's been incredible to watch. Every time I've watched Arsenal this season has been dazzling. And the only game that I watched that really hurt me is when they beat Man United recently.
That was
but that was an amazing game. That was a really good game.
That was a classic.
When that game finished, I was like, fair.
That was good.
Fair.
Yeah. That's one of those they'll be showing at halftime. Like in this season. Yeah, that was a good match.
Yeah, dude.
But it's been fun, and you're right. Like kind of like the mix of like players from other clubs, our young talent. Bukayo Saka, he's already got 10 assists. He's got 12 goals. So that's 22 goal contributions in the Premier League only. Martinelli, who's always had the raw talent, but I think Gabriel Jesus really unlocked his talent in a different way. And then William Saliba, who's currently not fit. William Saliba is like 21, I think, and just like he's gonna be a defender. He already is, but he's just So it's really exciting to see the mix. We're the second youngest team in the Premier League to already be in this position. So, I told Richie I'm gonna hire him when we get close to come take some pictures of us at the tavern.
Oh, nice.
Not to jinx it, but
not to jinx it.
Not gonna lie, like we're all Arsenal fans are thinking about it. Nobody wants to say it out loud,
Yeah.
Because like Barcelona's in a good spot. We're not. We're in a good spot, but
City's
we're not
still at arm's reach.
Exactly.
At arm's reach.
And again, we still have to go over there and play them in a few weeks. So
that's right.
Anything can happen.
There's also one thing is you guys have 29 games played.
Right.
Where the teams below you guys have 28.
Right.
So you have one more over. So that makes it more into this next couple of games, you literally got you have to beat Arsenal.
Right.
You have to beat who else? Arsenal. Sorry. We have to beat Liverpool.
We have to go to Liverpool. We have City away. We have Newcastle away, which Newcastle's doing really well this season.
Newcastle right now is looking really tough
place to play.
They smacked Man United and they look completely dominant that game.
I know. We got Chelsea at home, which currently Chelsea are a dumpster fire, but they've got the players. They got the talent for sure. The
squad.
Yeah, you guys have a pretty tough schedule coming up.
Yeah.
Especially Man City, Chelsea, Liverpool, which it's a un clásico, a derby that you gotta win.
Yep. And
you're also gonna close the season with Wolves.
Yeah.
So they're a team that siempre te da batalla. So I really haven't watched much of the Premier League, but this is I would say the best test to ratifying that title. We end up taking it.
It would be huge for us. I know, Barcelona. It'd be good for Barcelona to win La Liga, but for Arsenal fans, this would be
Yeah, I think it means a lot more.
I think so too.
Yeah.
And, the other thing I know you mentioned, we have a game City have a game in hand. So, but they're also in the FA Cup. They're also in the Champions League. So I'm rooting for City to go far in the Champions League, all the way to the final and lose,
as they tend to do.
Because they never won the Champions League. So
Pep will overthink himself.
That's also hard. We got. Again, there's a lot of similarities between us and Barcelona. Barcelona, a young team.
Yes,
we're both out of all competition. So Barcelona's only got La Liga. We only have Premier League. That's it. That's the one focus. We got 9 matches left, and that's it. So, City's got Champions. They got FA Cup. They got a lot of big matches coming up outside of the Premier League. And so that's, I still think we can win all things. I feel good. But we'll see what happens in a couple of weeks.
What's your prediction against Liverpool?
I think we actually win. This team has proven us wrong. So Mo Salah has not been in training. Diego Jota not been in training. Fabinho looked terrible against City this past weekend. Fabinho they gotta just put him out the pasture. Jordan Henderson, their midfield is not strong.
Their midfield is
Depends, Darwin Nunez is kind of Darwin's a wild card. If Darwin plays to his capabilities, they're always dangerous, obviously. But I think we're the better team. I think we're more in form. Again, they just got smashed by City, so I'm gonna say Arsenal 3-1. I like that 3-1 for some reason, but yeah, we'll see though. It's Anfield, and so that's a really tough place to play.
It is.
I would say we're gonna win.
Who is we? I don't know. Who are you talking about? Oh, my bad. Liverpool. I forget. Nah, man. In the words of Matt Turner, it's a dog fight out there, bro. It's a dog fight out there.
10:30, man.
Yeah. So I'm excited to watch that game. Arsenal, top of the league, and dude, that is super cool to hear that Richie is potentially going to be taking photos of that. One of the final games, I guess, at the tavern.
We'll see if we get there.
Yeah.
It's kind of like in Barcelona.
I had it in my head for a few months. I was like, I'm gonna call Richie.
Hasta que hagan algo. Hey man, we'll actually, I'll bring my equipment, and if it's allowed, we'll do an episode there. Con los Arsenal fans, ahí que, or just bring my camera with the microphone and tell me how you feel.
The color of the game.
Yeah, el color del partido.
All right, you guys. I would love to keep talking about football, but today, like the main point of this episode was to get into your story, man. We want to hear about you, where you're from, where you grew up, a little bit about us that you'd like to tell the audience that maybe they don't know you.
Yeah, I'm honored. Wow, the main point of So, well, I'm originally from. I think you've had a lot of guests actually that have Rio Grande Valley ties. I know, like Rigo back in the day. Rigo's from. I think he told me he went to Sherryland, but he's from that part of Texas. Ram, Alexis, El Mago. I think Mago's not from the valley, but Matamoros. I think he said he grew up in Matamoros. So Kevin Moreno's another one. So you've had a lot
Kevin
of guests.
Moreno,
Maximiliano
también.
Yeah.
Man, hey, what the hell? Is this a 956 podcast or what?
What's going on, Houston?
Hey, man. We got to get some
Houston, Dallas.
We had Daniel, Lift ATX from Houston.
Yeah.
But that's
you have had
I can think. All right, man.
But I think if you're a Latino especially a Mexican American in Texas, your roots, you still have I feel like that you got to go through the valley first before you
have
make it up here.
You have to.
That's where I grew up. I was born and raised I was born in McAllen, but I'm from San Juan, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
My family's all from, we call it in the valley, we call it the PSJ area. It's like it's three cities, FAR, San Juan, Alamo. So my family, or my mom's side of the family, is from FAR. My mom grew up in Reynosa, Tamaulipas. So she came over when she was 15, and she's one of the older siblings. Mm-hmm. And so it's like half of the siblings were born over there, half of them were born over here, type thing. So it's very different. Like the family grew up very different. Like you got yours that grew up in Mexico, and then you got the family that they were born here and they were raised here. And so in a lot of ways they're, very obviously Mexican American. And then my dad's from El Salvador, San Salvador. And so that, my dad made his way, started in Houston actually, and then it's funny because his best friend Richard, huge Real Madrid fan. So, but anyways, my parents met in Harlingen, Texas. They were both studying at Texas at the time. It was TSTI, Texas State Technical Institute. Mm-hmm. They met there, and then they ended up staying. My dad's sister also ended up going to McAllen, and they just kind of stayed there. So I'm originally from the Valley. I got here to Austin. I left, went to UT. And then after UT, I always wanted to, I started as an engineering major, but my junior year in high school, I knew that I wanted to be a teacher. I just knew it. Mm-hmm. So I started engineering because everyone was like, you're good at math. You should do engineering. And I was like, okay, me not knowing anything, bien pendejo. Yeah. I was like, I'll pick this one because my dad was kind of not a formal electrician, but he knows he's basically he knows all about electrician, the world of that world. And so anyways, I was like, let me do electrical engineering, and not knowing that it was programming and all this stuff. So
it's intense.
My plan was always to get my engineering degree and then do that for a few years and then go back to and then teach. But I was like, you know what, I wasn't happy. So after one semester, I was like, I changed to the College of Natural Sciences. I became a math major and I with the plans of teaching. And so after college, I applied for Teach for America. I got in. My first choice was Atlanta because I was like, you know what, I'm young.
Hot Atlanta,
exactly. I wanted to go somewhere where the weather wasn't too crazy. So I was like, I'm not going to Chicago. I'm not going to New York. Because you can preference where you want to go. And so Atlanta was my number one choice because I wanted to try something different. I was like, I'm young. I always want to live in Texas. I'm a Texan. Soy un Tejano. through and through, but I knew that I wanted to come. I knew that I wanted to live somewhere else while I could. So I stayed in Atlanta for 5 years, got my master's at the University of Georgia in educational administration with the eye of like, I wanted to teach, but then I also wanted to become a principal one day. Moved back to the Valley after that with my now wife. We got engaged. We got married in the Valley. And then after a year and a half, the plan was always to move to San Antonio or Austin. So it was kind of dependent on what school she got or like where she got hired. She got hired in Austin, and kind of the rest is history. And so we've been here since 2013. So we're about to hit, this summer will be 10 years that we've been here. And then we kind of just brought her family from Georgia. Her sister's here now, and obviously her family, my suegros are here, her cousin. My wife's originally from Venezuela. So like we've got kind of brought a lot of our family there. So that's a little bit about how I made my way here. This is the first year that I'm not working at a school. For 14 years, I was working at schools, teacher, assistant principal in residence principal. And I loved it, but man, I don't know how many educators you all have in your lives, but it's a very tough profession. It's a very tough profession. So, I definitely paid my dues and did my time. That sounds like a terrible way to say it, but I definitely paid my dues, and there's days where I miss the school, but it's just, I have 2 little ones now. Manuel is 5, Ines is 2, and somebody told me once is like, you're never going to get time back, but you're definitely got to be careful with age 0 to 4. Because that's when kids really like
developmental stages. Yeah,
and that's where I was just tired of missing things, because it was working late or I had to do this event, or I would leave for work before anybody in the house was awake, so I wouldn't see them. So I'm really happy now. I work. I think we mentioned earlier, I work for the KIPP Foundation. I coach and support principals throughout the country, or really 3. I just came back from New Orleans. That's where 3 of my schools that I support are. They're the ones in San Antonio. They're the ones in San Jose. And so it's a change of pace. I mostly work from home when I'm not traveling. The only downside is I do have to travel a good amount, but it's given me sort of like the freedom to like do some writing on the side.
That's cool, man.
Be at like Manuel's soccer games. I coached his team last year. That never would have happened before. And so, that's it's been a real blessing. And I feel like I'm able to be more present as a father, as a husband, as a person, but I also recognize like being in schools is tough, and so hats off to all the people that are working in schools. Yeah, right, dude. Now.
Shout out to all the educators out there. Wonderful background story, man. Like I didn't realize like how well. First, I think Alexa had mentioned it, but I didn't realize that you're Mexican and Salvadoran. You don't see that mix a lot. I feel like
in Houston you would see it a lot.
That. And then also the Venezuelan part.
The Venezuelan, yes. It's such a rich tapestry of Latin America right there.
Yeah, it really is. Like we got North America, we got Central America, we got the South America. And it's funny because un poquito de todo, exactamente. So FIFA recognizes your grandparents' country of birth, so to speak. So my kids, they could play for El Salvador, Mexico, Venezuela, or the U.S. because they were born here. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen, obviously. But just a fun fact is that kids have 4 options to.
So like, your parents, they pretty much went to college and graduated from college.
Technical school, I guess. Yeah. Okay. So I guess technically I'm first generation college. Theirs was like a 2-year program.
Okay. Right.
Like vocation.
How like, because I say for example, how was education? How important was education in your household?
Yeah, so I think one of the true blessings of growing up on the border, and I say this, blessing is maybe the wrong word, but like you got to see. So it's hard for people to understand Mexico, like in the 90s. I mean, for us, it was like 15 minutes away. We would go to Reynosa. Reynosa is the big border town, pegado a McAllen. And we would go como si nada. I mean, a cenar. Shout out to La Fogata in Reynosa. We would go there all the time because it was so much cheaper. I mean, my family was there, so quinceañeras, birthday parties,
so much better
funerals.
It just tastes different over there.
I mean, it was, and even in high school, like I always laugh because we would go like senior skip day or skipping, like we'd go to Reynosa, and that was
that's sick.
It was just like normal. Or even like I didn't do this so much in high school. I know a lot of kids did. They would go out in Reynosa, like to the Alaskan, there's these bars, $10, drink and drown type stuff. So, but I say all that because you grow up to get to the question you're asking, Richie, is you go to Mexico and you see, there I am 9 years old with my family, 10 years old, and you see the kids selling, los chiclets, and these are kids my age. Yeah. And so right away, my parents would always tell me, like, just be really thankful for what you have, because not everyone has these opportunities. Mm-hmm. And so growing up on the border, you saw that. And so I almost felt like I didn't have a choice but to do something. And education was kind of like the ticket. Like, here I am in this country where, like, if you work hard, for the most part, there's obviously barriers that I think a lot of people of color face, and obviously Latinos and Latinas in this country. But like, if you get an education, this is your ticket to something bigger and better. And so, my parents didn't go. I mean, they went to like TSTI, which is a 2-year program. But in a way, it was good because they wanted, as a parent, you want more for your kids, right? And so there was never a question of like going to college. Like, I always knew I was going to go. I didn't know what that was going to look like, but my parents instilled that in me. And so I'm really, really fortunate that they did. So I think those two things really helped, like growing up on the border and seeing, and we wouldn't just go to Reynosa. We would go to, like, the interior Zacatecas. I mean, those long drives in Mexico.
Oh, yeah.
El Espinazo del Diablo, shout out. And then we wouldn't go all the time to El Salvador. Mm-hmm. Not all the time, because it was harder to get there, maybe like every 4 years. But El Salvador was another, like, really eye-opener for, like, how people lived and poverty and just, like, what people would, how they survived day to day. And so you just had so much in this country that our country has its own flaws and its own issues, but
gives you perspective, right?
Yeah, absolutely does. And so I'm just very fortunate that I grew up there at a time when you could go. And I say that because it's really, my younger cousins, you don't go to Mexico now just to
experience
the ticket, right? Like, you don't just go to Monterrey. Like, like we, for us, that was no big deal. But like nowadays, it's with the cartels and it's not the same. And so, I mean, I know, like, myself, I've been in Mexico with my friends and we got stopped, and luckily we had cash on us. But like, that was just the el tránsito. You can imagine the cartels. That's a whole nother story. So I really feel for, like, the kids in this generation that live on the border that don't get to fully
experience that duality. No, I think I relate to that a whole bunch, because I have family on the border too, in Miguel Alemán, Tamaulipas.
Oh yeah.
So I grew up visiting a lot, and seeing life in Miguel Alemán, being there for summers at a time.
Yeah.
And it just took my generation to my little brother, who's like 8 years younger than me. He didn't get to experience any of that. So he probably, like some of your younger cousins, like, they kind of miss out on that. But one thing that I remember about having that kind of shared nationality with Mexico and El Salvador is, like, I have family that's Salvadorian, I have family that's Mexican, and I have my Texas family that was either born here or lived here most of their life. And when you're growing up, you're kind of going through, like, you're finding your own identity, right? Yeah. So, like, did you face any issues with, like, that duality of culture, or, like, neither here or from there? Because that's a common thing.
Wait, are you Salvadoran too? Or
You're Salvadoran. I'm half Salvadorian.
Oh, snap. Bro, it's the best. Like, let me just say, like, there was 1 year. Yes, I don't know where. I think I was home for Christmas, and there was one day we had. Is your mom?
My mom's Salvadorian. Yeah.
So mine's the opposite, but. We had, I don't know what it is, we had tamales for breakfast, recalentado. Mm-hmm. This was the 25th. I love, by the way, speaking of our culture, I love the way we do Christmas. I wouldn't change it for the world. We had tamales for breakfast. My mom made pupusas for lunch. And then we went to my tia's house, my dad's sister, who's Salvadoran, for panes con chumpe, which is like, panes con chumpe is like a turkey sandwich, but it has the chumpe sauce is like, chumpe means turkey, I guess, in Salvadoran. But the sauce, es una salsa como una torta ahogada. Yeah. Man, it was so good. So, to go back to your question, let me. Can you repeat the question? I was just so happy to
dude. Really, it was just a question on your experience. On having that duality.
The duality. Yes. Yeah. So it's funny because you grow up in South Texas and you don't really. It doesn't hit you until you leave. And there's parts of the valley that are white. So like I'm, if you go to like Sherryland or Harlingen or McAllen, my cousin who lived in McAllen had a very different high school experience in terms of like diversity. Mm-hmm. When I say diversity, I just mean like white people and Latinos or Mexican Americans mostly. For me in San Juan, it was like my school was 99.999% like Mexican American. We had like, I think one black student and his last name was Blackman, Just like, what are they? So you have one black student, his last name was Blackmon, Patrick Blackmon.
Yeah.
But anyways, so like you didn't really experience it until you leave. And so there were times where we would leave and that culture shock hits you. I don't think it really hit me until college. College was when it was like, whoa, like this is, you know, and luckily I was really involved in Latino student organizations at UT, at the Multicultural Information Center. Now it's called the Multicultural Engagement Center. And I never forget the words of a really, really good friend, Mary Gonzalez. I don't know if you have heard of Mary or if you had many experiences with Mary. Mary's state representative from El Paso, but she's kind of like took me under her wing in a lot of ways. And Mary says, I was like, Mary, like, as a freshman, I was like, I don't know if I really want to get involved in the Latino community because I'm coming from a Latino space. Like I want to branch out. And she's like, your community needs you. And I was really lucky because my community actually helped get me to graduation. So I was like very involved in organizations, Lambda Theta Phi, Land Fraternity Incorporated. And that kind of kept me grounded. It gave me a support system. The other thing I'll say about growing up in the Valley is my mom had, there were 10 siblings. Wow. My uncle passed away when I was 4, but otherwise it's 9 kids. And so I had a probably the best thing about my childhood was that family and the support system. And it's still there. Very much so. And so I needed that in college and I found that with my community. And so, yeah, I didn't really feel it until I left. And then in Atlanta, I'm going from the Valley to Austin, then to Atlanta, where I was teaching in a school that was 99.9% African-American student population. And so I would tell my kids all the time, it was very much so like, you're either white or you're black. Yeah. And I was like, no, I'm neither.
Not either.
And so let me explain a little bit because it was important that they understood like the world is more than white and black. And so my kids would get it. And eventually like sometimes the kids would say, oh, Rubio, that white teacher. And my kids would be like, he's not white. He's Latino. So they would like kind of defend me in a way. But I always say people need windows and mirrors. You need the mirror. You need the people who look like you, but you also need to interact with people who don't. And so, Atlanta was another like shift for me as a person. But I always, I've been very fortunate. And I think about like our community and the issues that we have in our own as Latinos. Like I've been very fortunate that I have always, for the most part, been able to feel myself. I know that everyone in my community feels that. Colorism is a big issue in our community, right? Like, if you're like darker skinned, if you're like Afro Latino, like that definitely affects the way that you can interact in this country, or as someone who identifies as Latino. So I've always been in spaces, and don't get me wrong, there's times where I've been like at UT in class, like where I was the only one. And there was like a sea of like white faces, and I knew that when I spoke or I asked a question, people were I wasn't just asking it for myself. Like people would see me as like, oh, there's this like Mexican guy asking, like you represent.
You're the face of Mexico in that space.
And so that was kind of hard. And I was, it could have gone either way in terms of like graduating. I was really lucky that I had a community. I had one friend, David Argente. He's actually a Salvi Mex too. He's from
it's more out there. It's amazing.
And David Argente was also a math major, and he was super involved in the Mexican Student Association. But he was the one like, güey, vamos a estudiar, güey. And every time I'd be like tired, he's like, tenemos que seguirle, tenemos que empujar. Like he was like super motivated, and he helped get me to the finish line. So shout out to David. I don't know if I would have made it without him now. So yeah, to answer that question, it's looking at, I think there's a lot of factors at play when you think about Latinos in this country. Is like, how do people perceive us? There's people in our community, like I have cousins who like you would never know they're like Salvadoran, like my cousins in Houston, like you would never know unless like they spoke Spanish to you or they told you straight up. I was, Spanish was my first language, but in terms of English, like it's now my stronger language. And so I don't have like an accent. I look at like my dad and how people have treated him because of his accent, when he's like really smarter than like so many people. So
right.
Yeah, you see these things all the time, but it's not lost on me that I have privileges too that are, that play a role in how people view me or how people interact with me or how I even feel in certain spaces, especially in this city. Because I don't know, sometimes you go out to eat and it's like a sea of white faces. It's like not very diverse.
Oh yeah,
it's different,
especially downtown. Especially downtown.
Oh yeah, unless you're at Pluckers, man. Raza loves chicken wings, bro. Raza loves chicken wings.
Has taken wings as under their wing, bro.
There's probably this question is not on the notes that we gave you, but you grew up. You said, you want to view life as in a window, but also in the mirror.
Yeah.
did you have friends where, someone close to you where, like, for them, it was like they saw you were the mirror, but you saw someone that you were the window to them.
Yeah.
Like from Mexico, for example,
Right.
someone that you knew that was not in the same, in a better situation, like probably in a different situation, maybe faltaba el dinero, faltaba billete. So when they see you, they were like, man, every time we go to Mexico, te veían como que, güey, está chido lo que estás haciendo, está chido que estás viviendo allá, I wish I could have that. And also, do you have someone that like you probably already mentioned, like answered a question, like your friend, the one you went to school with.
Yeah.
But do you have someone in Mexico that was more like you were their window?
Someone in Mexico?
Yeah.
Like a family member, or
just in general, like.
That's a good question. I mean, I can tell you, like, as far as mirrors go, it's funny because I wish I still had this blog post. I wrote it a long time. I used to write for Being Latino, an online magazine, but in my second year teaching, it was my second year teaching at Westlake High School. So again, this high school is like a big. It's in Southwest Atlanta, Georgia. Cam Newton had just graduated from there.
What?
Adam Pac-Man Jones.
Wow.
Went to school there. So this is a school that was turning out like literally NFL players. At the time, they had the most NFL players of any high school or whatever. But anyway, so like I'm teaching one day, and this teacher, Ms. Jordan, she brings in this Mexican kid into my class, like this freshman, and she's like, Rubio, he's just acting a fool. He just needs to sit here. And I'll never forget, like, when I first told him. So this is more of a mirror than a window question. I was like, ¿Por qué estás aquí? And his face just like he was just like, oh, like I can't trying to explain it, but it's like, oh my God, like somebody who like looks like me or sounds like me or knows Spanish. And so Rolando became sort of like, he wasn't my student formally, but he was literally like one of the few Latino students, if not like literally one of like 3 Latino students in this huge 5A high school. And so he became always my mentee. And so he actually, I took him that year. We became really good friends with his dad. I would translate for his dad when he came to the school. I took him to his first college visit for actually a Lambda Theta Alpha coming out show. Kennesaw State University. So it was his first time in college, at a college campus, and he's like, wow, Rubio, thanks so much. How can I ever pay you back? And I kind of said it like, well, one day when it's time for you to go to college, like you have to pledge Lambda Theta Phi. And so it's funny because he came to me as a freshman, super like cholo, like literally like the definition, like he was like, hey, cuz, like you on the way? Like I don't even remember what cholos would say back then, but he had the Cortezes on, nice. He had the hairnet. And he told me, he's like, Rubio, it's like you speak like a sophisticated Mexican. And I was like, I guess maybe I'm just an educated Mexican, but like we're different. Like we're not a monolith. Like everyone's different. So long story short, Rolando is undocumented. In Georgia, the law stated that you could attend college. You had to pay your own way. You weren't eligible for any financial aid or in-state financial aid. But you were barred from. You essentially couldn't attend the top 6 universities. So again, as a freshman, I could never believe like he graduated like one of the top kids in his class, like super sharp, and he always had it in him. Yeah. But just really tough. Like his dad was the only one here. It was just him and his dad. His mom was still in Mexico. His siblings were in Mexico. And so he ended up going to Armstrong State University because that was the only place he could go. He couldn't go to the University of Georgia. He got in, but if you were undocumented, you could only attend if there was space at the school. And of course, it's UGA.
Oh,
so like,
damn! So they kept it as a way to like, keep people out that are undocumented.
Exactly.
Because that's one of the main arguments that they have. Like, oh, you're taking
someone else's spot.
You're taking someone else's spot.
Right. Yeah.
Total bullshit. That's
It's kind of like here in Texas is very similar. Like U of H, I couldn't go to U of H, Maine, or UT. Like the only option for me was U of H Clear Lake.
Yeah.
I did know someone because she was ranked pretty high in her high school that got a scholarship to go to A&M. And I was like, a pretty conservative school,
Yeah.
But it's one of those that like, man, that's cool to hear that, he came out of it. He graduated from college.
He did. And he was actually, he was one of those kids who was like, he would be in high school, like he would be protesting at the Capitol. He got arrested a few times.
Wow.
Yeah. Like he would like literally like him and his buddies like sit on the street. And I was no longer in Georgia at this point. And so, long story short, like we still keep in touch. I went to his graduation for college. So sad because thinking about my family, like my entire family came to my graduation. Like it's like a 5-hour drive from the Valley, but here at UT, it was like, like when they announced my name, like
crazy.
Yeah.
It's like you're in Q2 or something.
Las porras. and for him, it was literally just his dad and me at his graduation. And so that just like really hit me. It reflected a lot on me, but like, and he made it. He's doing great. He worked for CNN. He was writing for CNN.
Wow.
I haven't talked to him in a while, but I could always just pick up the phone. And you know, he was just somebody that in life circumstances kind of put him in our way. Like when he was in college, he's like, Rubio, I need $200 for books. Like I can help you out. And I'm so glad that I was able to.
That's good,
dude. So, that's such a great, wonderful story, man. Thanks for sharing that about Rolando. It just made me think that, you know, you've probably seen it in your career as an educator and working in the system. Like, you know, a lot of times, you know, when people are acting out, people are, you know, kind of outcasts in their society. Yeah. You know, they get left behind.
Yeah, absolutely.
But really, it's like, especially people that young, students that young, like they just want to be seen.
Yeah.
They want to be heard. They want to be understood. I think that's everyone's one core basic desire.
I agree.
So like the fact that you were there and you were able to see Rolando, like that's incredible, man. Can you share a little bit about maybe some other takeaways that you had as your career as an educator that stayed with you?
Absolutely. I mean, I think you raised a great point. You know, going back to my first year teaching too, there was one kid who would fall asleep in my class all the time, and he wouldn't bother anybody. He was, he was a quiet kid, but you know, I kind of just left him there, and I was telling my mom about him. And she goes, "Mijo, like if you don't wake him up, who's gonna wake him up? Like if you're not the one that's gonna fight for that kid, like who is gonna be it?" And so, unfortunately, he ended up leaving my class after we started, he left the school after I started, hey, let's go. Yeah, despiértate, brother. But I mean, that's just I think the what I've learned is that every single kid just needs somebody to believe in them. And for a lot of kids, that happens at home. But I mean, my wife, we have she also is an educator, and she mentors this girl who is at Colgate University in New York right now. Mm-hmm. And I mean, they were just talking on the phone last night. So my wife spent a lot of time with her. When she's here in the summer, she comes with us because at home, she can't talk about how she feels. You know, it is, she goes through some mental health problem, or not mental health problem, but she just needs reassurance. Mm-hmm. She's not hearing that at home. At home, it's you don't talk about those things, and I know that's not true for every Mexican American family or any Latino family, but the point you raised, the question you're asking is kids just need, it just has to be one person sometimes. But again, it's those kids that don't have it, the kids who act out, the kids who are struggling. It's maybe their parents are going through a divorce, maybe they're homeless, maybe they're hungry, maybe they don't sleep at night because they sleep in a living room, and they live like Rolando is a good example. He was with his dad, but he didn't just live with his dad. He lived with, the people that his dad worked with. So you're talking about 8 men in a room. So where would he do homework? So kids just need somebody to believe in them. The problem with, and people might be asking, well, isn't that the teacher's job? Man, it's hard to do that when you got 30 kids in a classroom, and you can only, there's so many things coming your way. And so, ideally nobody slips through the cracks, but the reality is that the way the system's set up is it's just hard to be there for every single kid. And it takes, a lot of people, you think about the movies that Dangerous Minds or Stand and Deliver is a good one.
Yes.
That's not real life. You can't do what Jaime Escalante did unless you're willing to sacrifice. He sacrificed his health. I think in the movie, he has I don't remember if it was a stroke
or some type of condition.
Yeah, he literally collapsed. So you can't do that. That's not you can't replicate that on a scale. It's amazing what Jaime Escalante and people like him have done, but it's hard when you got your own stuff to, you as a teacher, you got your own stuff to handle. You got your family, you got your kids. And so that's I think to that point, kids just need somebody to believe in. I firmly believe that every single kid that goes to school wants to be successful. They start acting out when they can't be successful, academically. They got to find other ways to stand out. But I firmly believe that every kid that goes to school really wants to succeed. It's when they start finding those barriers, oh shoot, I actually can't read on grade level, and so that's when they start acting out or trying to stand out in different ways. But yeah, it's a tough job, and I think the system in this country is set up so that I call it kind of like an hourglass. If you think about an hourglass, a little bit of sand comes out at a time. Yeah, it's set up so that some people are successful. I call it the Barack Obama effect. Barack Obama, well, he was black and he was president. Why can't you do the same? The reality is it's not the way it works.
Yeah,
the system's set up so that we're not all. Some of us are successful and we're kind of pushed as being like the models, when in reality, like our kids are going through a lot.
Well, and the thing is, when I was in school, in high school mainly, you know, it was 30% white, 30% black, 30% Hispanic.
Yeah.
But like the it was like in Galveston. So Galveston,
Right.
I mean, literally everybody went to the same high school. You get to see, you know, someone that really, really, really struggled. Like I was kind of like in between. I mean, no éramos muy pobres, pero tampoco éramos muy, muy ricos. It was like we're making it, you know, barely making it. But I can, you know, I remember having one of my buddies that he didn't know English. He never really like paid attention to school, but he ended up making enough credits to graduate.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know, you can graduate today if you can. He's like, I haven't even bought my cap and gown. So I was like, wait, vamos y a ver, ¿cómo te la consigues?
Right.
He's like, well, I don't have any money.
Yeah.
So like, where do you live? So we walked to his parents' house, get the money. They're like, oh, ¿te vas a graduar hoy? Like, sí, ma. So then get the money for the cap and gown.
Yeah.
Go to the school so you can buy it because apparently they usually buy extra ones.
Okay.
He graduated, but then, you know, a week before, I'm sitting down with like this group called the Best, and it's better like building excellent teachers for tomorrow, something like that. And you have, you know, football players that they're, you know, they're white, they're privileged. I mean, it's just life is. And they're talking about like, yeah, my dad is actually doing all my college applications, doing all my college paperwork. I used to play football and get good grades.
Yeah.
But it's like, you know, you have this one guy right here that's trying to find $50 to pay for the cap and gown. And you have this one guy que su papá tiene todo. So it's like, I mean, I got to see some of, like, when you talk about the mirror, but also the window, like, you know, as time goes gone by and, you know, you go to different situations. I've been fortunate to experience better things than my past. So, you know, there's people that I see, you know, what happened when I was, you know, graduated from college, being a DACA recipient, and they got motivated by it. They're like, you know, there's something for us out there. Yeah. And I also got to, you know, growing up, saw people that looked like me that graduated from college. And I was, for me, it was like a motivation more than anything. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's just like you said, some kids just need like, it's hard because there's other guys that I know that are like super smarter than me.
Yes.
Pero no pudieron graduarse. And they still fall through the cracks.
And you don't know, a good example, you know, speaking of like past episodes, like Mago's story is a really good one. Shout out to Paprika and Mago and Hayden. We're amazing people, but Mago's story, and I might forget certain parts here, but essentially, like, he didn't know that he could go to college, and you know, if you know Mago, like, that guy's super sharp.
Yeah.
So, like, speaking of people who just, sharp, but like, he just didn't know. So if he would have had somebody who said, you know, you can do this, like, you can go to college, and a lot of times when you're coming from, you know, if your family's not if you're. The thing I've noticed with, like, you know, families who are newer to this country is they don't know how to navigate the educational system.
Yeah.
And so, like, he may not have been able to turn to his parents, but, like, if somebody, like a counselor, a teacher, a friend, you know, what you did for your friend is awesome because you don't get to do those things again, right? Like, you don't get to you only graduate one time from high school. So anyways, like, but yeah, Mago's story is one, like, what, you know, if somebody had just, like, told him, yes, you can do this and let me show you what to do, like, you know, who knows? And again, like, it worked out for us as people who love tacos because Paprika's amazing. But Mago's story is like one that I thought about a lot because it happens to a lot of kids.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's kind of sad because, I mean, in the corporate world in America, and I heard it from this professor once, basically pretty much saying, look, do your job whenever you get to, like, more so talking to minorities, like low-key was saying, like, do your job. Hustle twice as much because corporation out there, they're always going to want to hire someone that looks like them. And it's kind of like, and that was actually true to a point because if you look at CEOs, maybe it's a bit different now, but you look at CEOs, I mean, you're always going to have someone that looks exactly like them. Even like the picture, maybe 10 years ago, you know, someone like looked like J.J. Watt. Nothing wrong with J.J. Watt, but someone like, say, those type of people will be more favored than, you know, like, un Jose, un you know, Jamal. So it is tough, but at the end of the day, like, I think this is where our community just, you know, we gotta find, hopefully there's more people out there like you that are helping those kids and, you know, that maybe you can help them out, but the ones that you can't,
even you can't help everybody. Like even just one. Like if we were all like to say like I'm gonna mentor this kid at the school, and I know it's like hard. And we all have a lot of things going on, right? So it's not always easy. And me myself, like in this new job, like I have kind of taken a step away from the schools. I will go back and help out when I'm ready. I think I just need some time to like, do my own thing,
recalibrate,
exactly,
work on your own projects,
right. So, but yeah, I think like if kids just had like just one person, and again, we can't help. I can't help every kid, but if I could just help one kid, like that changes things for it's ripple effects, right?
Yeah, that's why like if there's one thing like goal for this podcast was also to highlight stories that maybe we can't talk to personally. I can't go to every school or go every place, but at least there's a platform where we can show this type of stories and know that there's a light after the tunnel.
Yeah,
dude. So yeah, we've touched a little bit on your educational background, what you've done in the educating community, and you kind of briefly went over your role as a husband and a father, but talk to us about that family life, man.
Yeah.
A little bit about your family life, some of the challenges, some of the struggles, some of the lessons learned for people like Richie and I who are not there yet.
I don't want kids, so
I was pretty sure Richie's. Yeah, I think I heard Richie in a past episode say he was good on the kid front. Let's see. Gosh, I think the best conversation, my dad's given me really good advice, but he was. The best advice he ever gave me was my sister and I were just curious one day. We never really asked him these kinds of questions, but like, Dad, why did you choose Mom? Like, what made her, like, how did you know? Mm-hmm. And he's like, one thing about your mom's family is that they were very humble. They were good people. And I just fell in love with them. And so that really stuck with me because when I think about my wife, like you got to think about what the things you love. And I know we're kind of all like, husband up or we got the wives at home or whatever. But like, but for people listening, like when it's time to choose a partner, like what are the things that are truly important to you? And for some people that might be, I need a partner who's going to be like, I love to travel and my partner needs to travel, or I love to try new things. My partner needs to be like trying things. Like for me, it was family. And so family was like super, like that was important to me because I mentioned I come from a really big extended family. Mm-hmm. And so I love my wife's family. Like, I don't understand it. Maybe this is just like a gringo thing where they're like, oh, yeah, we got to see the mother-in-law.
In-laws.
Got to go to the in-laws. Mother-in-law. I never understood it. Yeah, I don't get that now. I'm like, I love my wife's family. Like, my mother-in-law is the best mother-in-law in the world. She's amazing. Oh. But I love her family, and I would do anything for them. There's times where it's like, hey, I sent $500 to Venezuela because they needed it. And I'm in a position now where, like, $500 is a good chunk of money, right? But like, I was like, yeah, I mean, if they needed it, like, let's support, right. There's no question. Like now if it was like, like 2 G's, maybe that'd be different. Let's talk about it first. But the point is like, yeah, I love her family. So I think like for one, like find out, it's important for you when you find a partner, like what are your non-negotiables? What do you want in the person? And then I think as being a father, it's been a I'm not like super religious, but like I do believe there's a higher spiritual power. You want to call it God, Dios, Allah, whatever. Like I do believe there's higher spiritual power, and I think that higher spiritual power is like giving me these gifts. Like my wife is giving me these gifts of children that, the hard part about being a dad is, or like being you have to balance now. It's no longer about you. And don't get me wrong, like there's times where I am a little selfish, like, hey, I want to go to the tavern and watch Arsenal. Wife's cool, but I can't do that every weekend now. Right, whereas
it's before, limited times.
Before it was like, oh, I was there every single weekend. Yeah, exactly. And so, but I think being a father, our role is, again, I mentioned earlier, you want to make the outcomes or the opportunities for your children better than what you made them. And I think you also sort of want to do better than, as a parent, do better than your parents. And look, I love my parents. They raised me. I'm very thankful for how they raised me. I'm very thankful that they made sure Spanish was like a thing that we learned at home because it's made me a better professional. It's made me like I love being able to communicate in 2 languages. And let me also just say that one of the best things about being bilingual is the music. Like music in Spanish is so good, bro. Yes. Like, can you imagine your life without like rock en español or like, you know, I don't know, like Bad Bunny. Anyway, so like going back to it, I think like you want to do better than your parents. So like there are some things my parents did. There's this guy I follow on Instagram. His name is Abelardo Campuzano, and he's so funny. Like he imitates his parents, and it's just like, but some of the things he does like bring up kind of like traumas, right? Of like how your parents raise you. And again, I'm not putting it on blast here, but like, you know, one of the funny things was my dad would never apologize. You know, he would always say like, hey, ¿quieres ir a comer algo? And that's what he does in the video, like, ¿quieres ir a McDonald's a comer una hamburguesa? And that was his way of apologizing, right? Whereas, like, as a father now, like, if I mess up, I want to apologize to my son so he can hear, maybe we'll still go to McDonald's, right? But I want him to hear that. So it's like, how do we become better and break those, like, cycles of how we were raised? Because I haven't spanked my son ever. I don't want to spank him. I was spanked. And I grew up thinking, like, oh, you know what? It made me better. It made me respect authority. But, like, I don't know if that's now as an adult. Like I don't want to do that, and so
there's other ways.
There's better ways. So it's like like how do you raise kids with respect? And I think the other job as a parent is like going back to the windows and mirrors. So like we purposely buy like the books that the kids read. You know, we read about like obviously like Latinos. Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Manuel has a book about Ruth Bader Ginsburg. We read about like women. We read about like, you know, the LGBT community. We read like a diverse, because I want my son and my daughter to grow up like knowing that the windows and mirrors piece, like look outside, there's people that just to respect different cultures, different people from different races, different backgrounds.
That's amazing. And I'm so glad you brought that up because every other morning I'm at the YMCA doing my workout thing, and I end my workouts by sitting in the sauna. And when you're in a sauna, you're in a small space, and usually there's other people there. There's people that like to talk a lot, like a lot. So they open up about random shit. And, you know, I live in Cedar Park, Williamson County, pretty conservative leaning. Yeah. So when I'm there, the people I'm in with in the sauna with, like, they're obviously conservative just based on what I've heard, right? And one of the things they brought up is like, oh, yeah, you know, these schools, you know, they try to indoctrinate our kids with all this woke stuff, like, and that's why I moved my kid away from this public school. I moved him into a charter school that focuses on like a certain educational system that is based on like the founding fathers' constitution, and like it's insane hearing like some of the perspectives from the other side. So it's like really refreshing to hear that you are raising your family, your kids in a way that I would love to follow in that type of model.
And so, you know, when we think about like my son, or like how I want him to see the world, I wear this watch band, and I've had it since probably 2020. It's been a couple years, maybe a little bit longer than 2 years, but I saw a friend bought it, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to wear it, because I've always, kind of going back to my story, I mentioned my family's, there are 10 kids, but the oldest, my Tío Mike, passed away in 1988, and he actually died of AIDS, and so
sorry to hear that.
This is and this was like, thank you, but so a lot of things going on, right? Like your Mexican family, you talk about like the machista culture, like my grandpa, you know, el abuelo, like the oldest son, and I remember I was like 4 years old when he passed, but I thought my family would always tell me like he just passed because he had like heart issues or something. I was 18 when my mom actually told me how, like he contracted HIV and he died of AIDS, and so, you know, I kind of wear this in honor of him, but I also like to challenge people's like conceptions of like, you know, what masculinity is and what it means to be a man, and so I want my kids, you know, we talk about our kids because, you know, literally the things that we'll say to my son sometimes is like, well, we purposely don't say like, well, when you marry a girl or whatever, like, oh, do you like this girl, like, you know, and I mean, he's also a little kid, right? Like, it's funny how we talk to kids, but but going back to being an educator, like one of my students, a sixth grader, asked me when I had this, like, Mr. Rubio, can I ask you a question? And I already knew what she was going to ask. She's like, are you gay? And I was like, no, I'm not. But I wear this because I like to think of myself as an ally. And she's like, oh, okay. And there's a kid in there that, you know, that is gay. And I just saw like his face, like sort of like, and I knew he was gay because, you know, he actually told me later, but I just saw his like face kind of light up. And so if this, like something as simple as this just makes somebody feel like more safe or more comfortable or like they can be themselves, like that's important. And I want to sort of like as a father, like I want my kids to feel like they can be themselves first and foremost, but also want them to open, make sure other people feel that way too.
It's like I grew up in a Christian community, and I mean, just saying the word gay, it's a sin.
Yeah.
But they don't know anything behind the sin. It's just like, oh, it's gay. It's I know we're all sinners, but that's a sin, and they don't understand really why, or they don't understand the person in general, just being human. Yeah. I've had like one of my uncles. He also had like a drug addictions, and he also died of AIDS. I think it's the first time I share it with anyone like public.
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that. It's tough.
Yeah. But it's one of those things that like I seeing what he went through, his addictions. It's kind of like, do I want to go, like live that life, or that, or do I want to just literally deal with whatever I need to deal with, but also understand that like anyone that's going through something, and like saying, I'm not saying like, oh, it's being, like in men or whatever, it's wrong, but it's just more like you want to understand a person. And at the end of the day, you always, I'm also an ally, because who am I to tell people how to live? Yeah. Who am I to tell people how to act and, their pronouns? What matters is how happy the person feels.
Right.
How much love they want to feel with another person. If they love each other, why not? It's up to them. Whatever happens in life after, life or whatnot, that's between them and God, I've always said. Right. But for me, I think there's, and that's why I stopped going to church, just because church became a very, let's pray for the babies that are dying and this and that, and I'm like, yes, you're talking about that, but you're over here literally, having your little cliques in the church, and you always want to hang out with white people, and you have all the Mexicans on the side or whatnot. So it's good to like, say, if I ever have kids, I mean, I don't want kids, but if I ever have kids, I also want to have them, think outside of the box.
Right. Or just think for themselves.
Think for themselves too.
Yeah.
But that's good. I'm glad, like, there's a kid out there that, and you would notice, like, every time you do something, kids notice.
Yeah. And they notice what we do, what we don't do, what we say, and what we don't say.
Yeah.
So, all everyone, right? And especially our own kids. So, yeah, it's to go back to that question, it's a blessing to be a father, but it's a big responsibility. And, there's things that I can do better. Like, sometimes I'm on my phone too damn much. And so, literally sometimes I'll put it, looking at the stupid memes that Richie, the reels that Richie sends me on Instagram.
Oh my God.
Todas mamadas. But like, literally I'll have my phone on the table somewhere away from me, and my daughter will literally, 2-year-old will literally bring it to me.
Wow.
Like you need this. So like, I gotta be, I can do better, and that's something that I want to do better. And, we can all do better in our personal life, or like in what we do to influence the next generation. So it's a lot of responsibility, but it's great. I love being a father, and I'm so thankful that I have my wife, Daniela. She's an amazing partner, amazing mother. Yeah. Like I just, and I try. Yeah. Shout out to the moms, all the moms, because they have the tough jobs, so. Yeah.
That's good, man. Yep. Switching it up a bit, going to Capital City, for anyone that, that's not from Austin, listening to this, what is Capital City about? And then I know you started writing with them, right?
Yeah, so Troy Bryant, I think Capital City is about 5 years. So this predates sort of Austin FC, but it was around the time like Austin FC we knew we were getting a club. He just put out something on Facebook, and I have 2 season tickets. My friend Elliot has the 2 next to me, so shout out to Elliot. He was like, "Hey, we should write for this," and I was like, "I'm gonna shoot my shot, sure." So I submitted the form. So I like to write. Like I have my own personal blog. I've written for other. I think I mentioned earlier. I've written for other like online magazines, but it's not something that I do like that I can dedicate a lot of time to, or at least in the past. And then I shot my shot. He hit me back, and he's like, "Why don't you do this?" I think I was going to a Native Hostel. I was like, "Hey, tonight I'm going to Native Hostel for the jersey reveal." I don't know if you remember back in the beginning of the season when the Las Voces came out, the kit. So I did that, and then literally like 2 weeks later, or a week later, he's like, "Hey, they're doing this food tasting at at Q2, and they've invited the media. Do you want to go? And I'm like, I looked at my calendar for work, and I was like, I don't have any meetings. So I'll just take a 3-hour lunch.
Nice.
That's crazy, man.
My boss is super cool. My boss is like, you do what you got to do, and then you figure it out. And I'm somebody who likes to, I still kind of wake up early, and I like to do work in the morning because that's when I'm more focused, like early in the morning, like 5 a.m., 6 a.m. before the kids wake up. So anyways, like, and it just kind of like, next thing I know, I'm like writing this. That day, like we got a stadium tour. I was like asking Andy Loughnane, the president of the club, like questions. I asked him about the Champions League, and then I wrote an article. And then I just kind of been doing, like, it just kind of took off from there. I think the KIPP Keller piece that I put out was probably the best received one in terms of like viewers and clicks. And so Troy's been great. You know, and I know there's other people that have started writing, so we got a lot more content coming out. We got a lot of new writers. We're trying to do more. Things I got coming up is I was telling Koke before we started recording tonight. Like I want to start doing like a series on like places to go eat post match. You know, I don't know about you all, but I sleep better, especially after you know. Las chelas.
Los tacos.
Exactly. You need some taquitos, and what a better place than Rumberg and Lamar.
Yes,
and so
sir.
We'll be doing some of that, and then I'm doing like 5 big takeaways from the LAFC match coming up too, and then I want to do like a piece on the away experience. I know Richie's been to a lot of away matches. Those are fun, man.
Dude, I've yet to go, but from everyone I hear that those are like some of the most enriching experiences as a supporter.
If they win, it's fun.
Yeah.
When they lose, it's not as fun.
Yeah.
At the end, it's,
I was in Atlanta. I was actually in Atlanta with Alexis when we won 3-0 at Mercedes-Benz. And the night was just like, afterwards, you're right. It was like awesome. Went to LA for the Western Conference final. That didn't end well, but still a great experience. So I want to do some more and just like have new ideas to write about. But I'm super. I'm lucky I have a platform to do it. I like to do it. I don't consider myself like a good, great writer, but it's just something that I do, and I guess people are reading it. And Troy's liking it, and he gives me the data, like the stats. Just like I'm sure you all look at your the number of listeners you're getting, and so it's been good feedback. And I've kind of like I started off really, really strong, and lately it's just harder. I mean, there's also like there's been like not as many matches, so it's kind of hard.
It's been kind of a lull, and like
it's been activity. A little bit of a lull, but we'll pick it back up.
So like when it comes to writing, you said you don't feel like you're the best.
Yeah.
But you're doing it, and that's the whole point. At the end of the day, it's like it's not who's the best or not, but at the end, it's like doing it. And then if it's good, and I like it, a la gente lo que pida.
Exactly, and I think we like we spend so much time thinking, oh, what if this doesn't work out? What if it doesn't? Like sometimes you just got to jump in the water, bro. Like you just got to do it. And like shout out to you all too, because I'm sure you had those questions too with the pod. Like, will anybody listen? Like, what's it gonna be like? You just got to do it. And I think do y'all know Gary Vaynerchuk? Gary V. He's like an entrepreneur.
He makes a lot of videos.
Yes,
and stuff.
Yes. So he always talks about like just get content out there. He's like, if you're someone like if you're trying to be an influencer, just put videos out there and keep going, and eventually like you'll hit that like, that point where you're getting enough content out there. So you just got to do things sometimes and not worry about how you look or how it sounds like. And honestly, for me, if nobody read it, like I just love doing it. It's fun. So I'm looking forward to doing that. Like I said, some more and just offer different perspectives. Like it's not just about what's happening on the pitch. I think the beautiful thing, and you all know this, when you support a football club, there's so many more things than what happens on the pitch. Yeah. Right. Yes, the results affect a lot of how we interact and react, but there's a lot more that happens, and I'm trying to like find those stories or like just give people the different perspectives beyond just
if you get a chance. If you get a chance to like get a media pass, and they allow you, like say, you're writing an article, your field level, you're gonna get a lot more for your writing because there's so many reactions, so many, even winning, like you're still gonna have people that like they can't believe that we're winning that much, or they're like they don't know how to react. They just like, I mean, especially like people that are new to the sport.
Yeah,
they're like so excited, like looking at kids. Like it's just, it's that's one thing I enjoy. Like for me, it's when I do photography and I'm shooting, in a stadium, it's just seeing the reactions.
Right,
like,
and I'm sure like you get to go back and look at the images you capture on the day of, and it's just like it brings like it feels good to like do that, and that's your work, and obviously you're really good at it. So Yeah, it's fun being like a creator. I'm not like the most artistic person, but this is what I'm good at. Like, you all have all of us have our own things, and I think the other piece of the writing piece is like we should all. I think every person like find the thing that you love to do because you just love to do it. I'm not getting any money off of this. Like in fact, like. I mean, other than that free lunch I got at Q2, that was cool. But like, if I do an article on an away game, like I'll ask Troy if he'll like pay for me to go, but I doubt it. Like, you know, or like this, like when I go out to eat after matches and I'm gonna write about it, like I'm paying that off my own dime. So I'm doing it because I love it. And maybe something else comes out of it, maybe not. But that's not why I'm doing it. I'm doing it because I love it, and I think like, you know, that more like if you have the opportunity, like find out what you love to do and just do it.
Oh, well said, Chris. Well said. And it's awesome to hear that you're finding passion in your writing. It's become a project that you've been able to give more time and love to. Yeah. I know it's really enriching to hear that, but also just kind of inspiring just to hear that, you know, you decide you found a role that gave you that freedom, and you're taking advantage of it. You're not just letting it go to waste. Yeah. So. Kudos to you, man. I can't wait to continue to see what you write, and it's just awesome to hear someone of a perspective that I can relate to. You throw some Spanglish in there, you throw some jokes in there, some internet meme like culture, you know, like it's tight.
We had just a side note. I think one of them when I wrote about the food is I think I wrote like I've had approximately 10,000 tacos in my life.
Yeah.
I'm wondering how many do you like? Is that a lot? Is that so many? Like we probably
calculate the amount of tacos you've eaten in your life.
Yeah, like if I've had one per day, like let's just say one per average, and how long have I been alive? So I actually asked a friend this question that's also from the Valley, and we were just thinking about it because
that's probably low.
You all know this like culture, like you can go a whole day, like breakfast, lunch, dinner, fourth meal,
very versatile.
Tacos. But yeah, I love tacos. But anyways, that's actually an exercise we should all do. Is how many tacos have we taken down?
The average amount of tacos in a lifetime seen by a Mexicano or consumed by a Mexicano.
Yep.
But that's good, man. And I think as the way I look at it is, how do you make the legend grow? Yeah. And it's, you know, it's I don't think watching the game, you know, it's cool. That's the good thing, you know, supporting the team, but also like getting involved. That's where like just the meat is at. That's where that's where you appreciate everything more. Y te duele más cuando ganan y celebras más cuando te duele más cuando perdemos y celebramos más cuando ganamos, just because it's not just like just the surface, because we actually, you know,
it's kind of like a part of you. I don't know. Yeah, it's hard. There's not that many sports I feel that can that make that you get in. Like you can be like you can be a baseball fan. You can be, but I feel like with football, with soccer, like there's just a way that you connect. That's just like different. I don't know if that makes sense. Like you're just just means more.
Yeah, because country, because of backgrounds, because of how does the sport now relate to you when you were young, when you were a teen, when you were in university. Like everything just comes to like how this team represents me. How do I contribute to what's here? That's why like for me that, you know, hearing people that, you know, that constantly do stuff, it's awesome, you know, because we're not bringing in these experts to do it, or this, you know, high-paying people or recognized people to doing it. The culture's growing, or the lane is going through us.
Yep.
And now I hope the team continues to understand that every time we do something or we want to be involved, I mean, aparte de que nos gusta el chisme, it's because we love it. It's because we love the team. I mean, we appreciate it. Like if we didn't love this team, then we would not be around. You know, we would not be everyone like tweeting out about the team 24/7. I mean.
Yep.
So, I just also goes like being part of the supporters group of Los Verdes. You know, it's just you're part of it as well.
I would say I'm like more of I'm a member, and I have so much respect and appreciation, and I met so many great people in Los Verdes. I'm not like as involved as I'd like to be. I think part of that is like my involvement with Arsenal, and to be clear, that's like my first love.
It's your first
like,
love.
That's my love, and
Austin Gooners.
Not to compare, like it's like you're comparing
different,
to that, but then that is my first love. So like I'm not as involved as I want to be. I mean, I'm a father. Like my job sometimes allows me to be flexible. Sometimes it doesn't. Like maybe if I didn't have kids, I'd be more involved. And maybe down the road once they're older, and I'm able to get away from the house easier. But I've done like the tifo stuff. I've done like the away matches. So like maybe not to say that I'm better or worse than any other supporter, but like I feel like I've done a little bit to contribute. Yeah. I gave you these stickers from our section. So section 135, my friend I mentioned Elliot, we just kind of like started galvanizing our section, and like we had tailgates last season. We made this is our logo, and so we're trying to like not to compete. So let me be clear, I don't think we want to be like a rival, not a rival supporters, but like. I don't think like a lot of us are in Los Verdes already. Yeah. So I think we want to add to that because I want to get to the point. I mean, I'd love to get to the point where like the stadium is just more involved.
Yeah.
Right. Like the supporters is great. And 135 is really close to supporters. So we kind of get the best of both worlds. Yeah. We get a seat when I want to sit. I like to stand personally, but I'm 6'4", so the people behind me sometimes, the people directly behind me they're always there and they're great. I love them. But sometimes like new people come in because they'll sell tickets. So I was like, I get it. And actually in St. Louis, 2 guys got kicked out because they didn't want to sit during the match.
What?
That's crazy. So like I'll sit. Like I don't want like to build like I don't want to be like I don't want to start like a fight or something, right? Like I guess, but I like to stand. But anyways, and so like section 135, like we're not trying to be like. We're just like a community, just like
adding to the
we have
rich
tailgates. Yeah, we'll switch tickets. So like, hey, my Tia wants to come to the game. Like, can I trade you for like this game? And so we'll do that. And so it's been a lot of fun to be in a section that in a lot of ways we're building like a little community within the stadium.
Yeah, no, it's good because like say for example now you have the Northern podcast. Yeah, in the north side, and then you also have this group called Los del Norte.
Yeah. Okay.
It's good to see like sub groups coming in, and I'm pretty sure they are part of one of those SGs or not part of it. It's either
kind of
or.
Like in Los Verdes, you have like Los Pringles.
Los Pringles.
Shout out to Los Verdes, the Care Bears.
What's the other one? The Handsome Boys. Handsome Modeling Boys.
There's a lot.
You have like their own.
There's a lot of expression in the supporters
subgroups.
Yeah, I thought about starting one, but I'm like, nah. I'm way too busy. I'll probably get fired by the board of the group.
Yeah. But yeah, it's been that's the other piece is like I get frustrated when I'm on. So I'm on. I'm also. I probably shouldn't be on this, but I am on. But I feel like I need to be another voice like on this. There's a Facebook group that's the official Austin FC group. I don't even know who moderates it. Like I don't know how it became official, but it's a group, and man, there's just so much negativity in there.
Yes.
So I feel like I can't leave because I'm like straight up like commenting back, and not that I spend all my time on Facebook like fighting with people, but like when I see something, like I'm gonna say something, and it's. When you truly love, we always say en las buenas y en las malas. Yeah. So like when you truly love a football club, like yes, you want the results to be good, but it's more than just the results. When I wear my Austin FC shirt, like when I travel for work, like a lot of times I'll wear my Austin FC gear because there's just like a pride I have in our city and the club, and I want them to win, but also like more than anything, I just want the boys on the pitch to play hard and to represent our city in the best way possible. And I think for the most part, we've done that. I know people feel many different kinds of way about the Cecilio situation, for example, but I hated that Cecilio was always on the floor. Yeah. And I don't like that type of player, so I'm actually like just with that alone, I'm like, but the players that we have now, I feel like are great stewards of our community. And
El Don Stuber, saludos.
Yeah.
Stuber
is a real dude, man. I'm so glad he got paid because, man.
He deserved it.
He deserved it.
I would have started rioting outside.
I mean, yeah.
But no, I'm glad. I'm it's like when I go to Houston, I always have to bring something Austin FC related.
Yeah.
Whether it's my cap, it's I even got a tattoo just in case they know.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. O Verde hasta la muerte.
Oh dang! Yeah, I saw a bunch. Yeah, it was actually a bunch of people. Did you get it that day at Native Hostel?
Nah, I got it after Pluckers. It was like 3 of us ended up doing it. But
that day at Native Hostel, I saw like there was like 10 people. I was like, dang.
I mean, if they would have offered, I would have done it. But I think they had like a limited quantity.
Yeah.
But I was like, yeah, that's
Okay.
fine. I already have mine
I
already.
have a Canon right here.
Yeah.
On my,
And
on
the
my
Gooners.
For the Gooners.
Yeah, but I'm not there yet with Austin FC. We'll see. Never say never.
Never say never, right?
Yeah.
Man, anything you think we can cover?
I think you want to talk about like Arsenal a little bit.
Yeah,
you wanna
dude.
Talk about
Please.
my involvement with that. So, gosh, the story. I'm gonna go back to 1994, El Mundial in the U.S. And so 94 was like for me. That was like the first. That was the first World Cup I remember. I was 9 years old. And it was great because it was obviously here in this country, and so you learned about it. And this is a time like pre-internet,
things were very different media wise.
Yeah, like you really didn't like. There was not a lot that I knew as a kid. It was not like the NBA or the NFL where I could watch these on TV.
Yeah.
And I think the other part of my dad being from El Salvador is like, I know Richie asked me like, "Who's your team in Mexico?" I didn't have one. Like I didn't grow up like a lot of you know, watching like Chivas, watching America.
Koke's team is America.
If I had to, I will just say if I had to choose between the two, I'd go with Chivas. I just respect, you know, the whole like only Mexican players. But anyways, so 98 was like France, and that's when I started to learn. Okay, Maldini, he plays for Milan. Zinedine Zidane, he plays for Juventus at the time. Bergkamp. So I became an Arsenal fan because of Dennis Bergkamp. I started to learn about English soccer.
That first touch.
Yeah. Oh, man. This is like
best first touch I've seen in the game.
Silky smooth. So funny. You would appreciate this, Koke. In 98-99 season, Manchester United become the first English club to win the treble, La Tripleta, right? Which is you win your domestic league, you win the domestic cup, which is the FA Cup in England, and you win the Champions League. And so they hadn't won the Champions League yet when I got this article from ESPN, the magazine, because the Champions League is always like the last kind of game of the club season.
Yeah.
So I read this article, Paul Scholes, Beckham, Ryan Giggs, like these guys, like
Giggsy.
Yeah, Giggsy. And I read this article and I was like, I can't root for these guys. Like, I didn't connect. And so then I start seeing, I had a Sega growing up. I didn't have a Super Nintendo, right? I was a Sega guy. And so I started seeing this team with a shirt that said Sega, Dreamcast. And I was like, and then I started putting two and two together. Oh, that's Bergkamp. I don't know if you remember, Bergkamp scored a goal. I think it was against Argentina in 98. That's amazing. Like, we're talking about the soft touch.
Yeah.
If you YouTube it.
Was like 3 touches from the back.
It was like Dennis Bergkamp. Anyways, so I was like, Dennis Bergkamp plays for Arsenal. So I started playing FIFA 2002. I started playing with Arsenal. I was like, I like these guys, Perez,
Started
Henry.
connecting.
Like Arsenal had just won the double, which means that year they won the league and the FA Cup. And that was it for me. 18 years old, I bought my first Arsenal jersey with my graduation money from high school. It was at a Champ Sports in McAllen, Texas. I still have that shirt. Somehow the shirt shrank. I don't know how it did. Or maybe I grew. But it still fits. Again,
Poco pegadita, pero
yeah, you know.
Más sexy.
But it still fits. It's the O2, the what we call the Invincibles kit, because in 2003, 2004 they go they win the league. So you know, it's somebody asked me like, how did you choose Arsenal? And I always say like, when it comes to that, like, it's like Arsenal chose me. Like I felt like the team found me, and it's a club that I identify with, not just with at the time in the early 2000s. Really like attractive football, like attacking football, like beautiful football. But the first English team, the first English team to field 11 foreign players, and so the first time that 11 players that no English players started. Later in the early 2000s, the first English team to field all black starting lineup. So every single player was black. Won the most FA Cups in English history, third most titles behind United and Liverpool. We would have had a lot more if it were not for Sir Alex Ferguson and Manchester United. Man, he had like 13 league titles.
Yeah, he's a legend.
But you know, I think the cool thing about following Arsenal back then is like you had to go out of your way.
Yes.
Like this was not like you couldn't turn on Univision. You know, in Univision you would get like the Mexican league games. Like I think I didn't have cable growing up, but in high school we got cable and we had Fox Soccer Channel.
Oh yeah.
And that's how it would
Saturday mornings.
Watching. Yes, that's how I would start watching
all the highlights, all the games.
I've been a Gooner since I was 18 years old, since 2002 or 2003. Again, 2003 was when I bought my first shirt, and I was like, this is my club. And I've known a lot of people that have picked like a European club, and then like 2-3 years down the road, they're like, oh, I'm switching. Like they switch teams because they learn more about the game. And so I'm really lucky I pick a club I identify with. And And I'm going from like, you know, back in the day, this is like you had to go out of your way to know about the sport, to now it's like everywhere. You can watch any single game that you want for Premier League, and pretty much every game that Arsenal plays, I mean, you have to get all the streaming packages, but you can do it. Yeah. And so I was really excited when I moved to Austin, because that's when I started watching with the Austin Gooners, you know.
At the historic tavern.
So when I started, we were actually at Cuatro's on West Campus.
Cuatro's, man,
old school, bro.
You're taking me back.
And
with the tiled screens.
Yeah, so literally my first match with Austin Gooners was at Cuatro's. I missed the second match because I had to work or something. I don't remember why. And then the third match, the board at the time decided to move to the tavern. I remember this was 2013. We played Tottenham that morning. And so long story short, like Cuatro's was just like it was kind of everyone's bar. Like
too many people.
Yeah, and there was like parking was really tough at Cuatro's. It was really tough.
West Campus,
yeah,
UT.
Yeah, and so we moved to the tavern, and then next thing you know, I'm like treasurer of the group, and then next thing you know, I'm branch manager of the group, and so Arsenal America is kind of like the umbrella for all the supporter groups, all Arsenal supporter groups in the country, and so I couldn't be a high school principal and branch manager at the same time and be a new father. And so I was the current branch manager. Matt was, I guess, my successor, and he's done a great job. But I'm still like super involved. You know, I just, the people that I've been watching with, they are now like friends. Like, you know, the people that we've gone through thick and thin. And when you watch soccer,
have highs and lows.
The highs and lows.
I thought you were gonna say, "Well, I couldn't be a branch manager, principal, and a new father, so I quit my job."
Yeah, if Austin Gooners paid the bills, now I could probably do it. But you know, we want new leadership, and we want you know, and the board does a great job now. So, anyways, that's my story of Arsenal. It's I absolutely love this football club, and it's a really good time to be an Arsenal fan right now. But even if the results weren't what they were, like I'd still be there. I watch every match. Unless I'm working or unless I got something going on, it is my, and so that's kind of like when we talk about Los Verdes. Los Verdes is not my kind of go-to community, if that makes sense, because I kind of already had one through Arsenal, and so like I'm wearing this Green Army shirt because we like to call ourselves the Green Army. We're very unofficial.
I had not realized that.
I saw it earlier. And
so we call ourselves Arsenal is like Red Army. That's one of the things that you'll hear fans say. So Green Army, it's Arsenal supporters that also support us in FC. You know, we tailgate together before matches. We all park in the same spot. And so
the Verde Gooner.
Yeah, the Verde Gooner. That's right. So yeah,
Cris Rubio.
And thinking about Austin FC, I didn't think I would fall in love with Austin FC the way that I like. Yeah. I remember as branch manager, the club. I'm actually met from representatives with the club. He's no longer. He was actually an Arsenal fan. Gosh, I'm forgetting his name. But anyways, and so I was talking to them. One of them, Zavin. He's like the senior. He's the main guy with tickets. And I was like, I don't know if I can love this team the way that I love Arsenal. Like, I feel like my heart has only enough space for one football club. And then I met with him like a couple weeks ago. We had some beers, and he was like, I remember when I first met you, you said, I didn't think I would fall in love, and look at you now. And I was like, damn. And I didn't fall in love until that first home match. Like I was watching all these, because remember the first season we had like nine away matches or something, right? So it wasn't until like the 10th match, or I don't remember the exact number, but and that's when I fell hard, and so look at me now. I have Austin FC and Arsenal Football Club. I still love Arsenal more. But
that's great, man.
But I think as time goes, and there's just something about supporting your local club, and being there for them, and being that 12th man.
You kind of, I know you don't have to, but you know, it's here, so
you live here, you eat here, you breathe here, you're part of it, whether you like it or not.
Right. Yeah, and then like I know a lot of people don't like Austin FC. They're like Austinites. And
like people that live in Austin
they live in Austin.
Don't identify.
Yeah.
Who are these people?
Yeah.
What are their addresses? Like, are you gonna dox them?
Let's go. But it's kind of like say for example, it's like every time they talk about it, it's kind of like in a down thing. Like no, like like you're not involved, bro. Like you're just like it'll be different if you're involved. And okay, it hurts you, but you're just shitting on it. Like, I mean, but
again, people are always gonna shit. Negativity tends to rise in certain channels.
Yeah, but I mean, if they shit the shit, I'm like, do it when you're involved, but not like outside of like the club.
Right. It's easy. It's easy to criticize when you're not. Yeah.
Like So, but don't celebrate it like if we take the MLS Cup like in the future. Hopefully soon.
Oh, they will. They'll be the main ones celebrating.
This season, we can still do it.
Like, there's a lot of soccer left to play. There's a lot of football left to play. There's not a lot of Premier League left to play. I will say that I did have the chance to watch. I believe it was the Arsenal season opener at the Tavern.
Yeah. I remember you came said hi.
Yeah, dude. So Ernie, one of our great friends, he's a huge Gooner.
Okay.
He invited me. I don't know how.
There. Okay.
He was there. And we just met up.
I'm sure I know his face.
You know his face.
Yeah.
We were at the Tavern, and we were watching the game, and I just remember the experience of being there. Completely, like the Tavern was completely filled with supporters. Day one.
Yeah.
I had never watched an Arsenal game in public.
Yeah.
I had never watched it. Definitely not at the Tavern, and I was just kind of like, wow, this is a beautiful experience.
Low key, you were like,
I was like, this is a nice experience.
Low key is like,
I would never. What I'm trying to, what I was pleasantly surprised by was reception. Like, people ask me like, oh, are you a Gooner supporter? I'm like, no, I'm a Man U supporter. Like, oh, that's unfortunate, but welcome.
There'll be banter.
Yeah, there's banter, which is expected. Normal, but it was awesome. They were super welcoming. Everybody was super nice, and it just made me feel like, I was watching the game amongst friends, not amongst people that like, weren't welcoming.
It really is like friends. And I think for context, if you're wondering, like, I mean, for a big match, we'll get like 200-300 people there. I mean, it will be I shouldn't say that out loud because the fire marshal, might shut it down.
But that's another tavern. A tavern that's like, far away from here.
Like,
not the one.
Not the one on top.
Somewhere in Pflugerville or something.
Yeah, not that one. But it's cool because
it's spelled with a B de burro, not a B de vaca.
Well, a bunch of the guys just came back from London. They went to Leeds. We played Leeds this weekend, so they were there, and they're they were talking about the old English pubs that have been around for centuries, and they're like, there's nothing like that here in the U.S. The Tavern is the closest that we got to it.
It really is.
So it's just a Tavern, a really historic building. But yeah, to jam 300 people in there for top floor, bottom floor for a big match, it's crazy. And I'm one of those, like, I'm the ones who's starting like the songs. Like, I love to. I don't have a good singing voice, but I estoy, like starting the songs and so that adds to the experience, and it's fun. I kind of say, like, people there, you have to, like, there's like self-care, right? Like, some people get massages, some people, I don't know, do yoga. Like, that is like my own
That's your
self-care, like in the mornings,
watching the
right, and then it's like, yes, we get a lot of people, but then, like, for the early matches, like the 6:30 kickoffs, like, that's where we'll get like the 40, like the hardcore, like the craziest ones of us, and like I said, we just become really close, and it's different from watching at home. Like you celebrate at home, but it's something different when you're celebrating with your friends and you're hugging and high fiving, and again, people that like you've been through the thick and thin with.
It elevates the experience for sure.
So if you're listening to this and you're an Arsenal fan, come check us out at the Tavern. You won't regret it.
Yes, I will say, just based on where we are in the season, Man U kind of blew their chance at being contenders. That's my squad. That's my team. It is what it is.
Y'all will be all right.
It is what it is. But for the love of football and everything that is good in the football universe, I want Arsenal to win.
Yes.
Because I think if Arsenal wins, football wins.
Yeah.
There is football gods out there, but if City wins, it's just
money wins.
Yeah. Money wins. Yeah. Evil wins. I feel like evil wins.
Especially after all these, like, and this is the other frustrating part, is like, all these cities been found to violated I don't know how many. Like, nothing happens. And
slap on the wrist.
Yeah, like, I don't even, financial fair play is a joke, or whatever that financial fair play means. But
that's why,
people have told me that, like, Arsenal, like, we want you to win because
yes,
there's one thing that I'm not a Real Madrid fan, but soon Real Madrid will take the Champions League.
Yeah,
especially when they're not expected. When they beat PSG and they take them out.
Yeah,
or Man City is like football wins. Like, for some reason, it just feels right.
I mean, last season
feels a little better.
Yeah, better. You're right.
Yeah, because I'd rather. I mean, I don't. I wish Real Madrid never takes it, but I'd rather not have a team like Man City or PSG take the
Yes.
You know,
or like,
take those titles.
Chelsea, I'm really, you know, whatever's happened. Chelsea's a mess right now.
Oh, dumpster fire.
Man, but it's also like
the amount of
karma.
money spent, yes.
Yeah.
Y'all got anything else to add on the EPL?
Not on the EPL part.
No.
I think it'd be nice if you let people know where they can find your writing, Chris.
Yeah, so Capital City Soccer. I think it's .com. Just Google it. I highly recommend you follow us on social media because that's when we'll post new pieces that drop. Like I said, we got a lot of new writers. We got Adam, who's actually in Los Verdes. He started writing as well, so I'm really excited for that. So like kind of like a diverse, the diverse group of people in terms of like the football, like where they sit in the stadium and their relationship with the club. And so, yeah, just if you follow us on Instagram, Facebook, you'll see when the pieces drop, or just capitalcitysoccer.com.
Awesome. Y'all go follow Capital City Soccer, read this man's articles, read the awesome content they have, continue to support.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I appreciate you coming, Chris, and appreciate the articles that you've done. I've read a couple of them. And they're quite entertaining.
And I want to thank you because I think you've shared a couple, and I appreciate that because, it's I always say like, and so I appreciate when anybody does that, honestly, because when we think about like the people that we love or either people that we know, like it's so easy. It doesn't cost us anything to like, right? Or comment or share. It's free. And so, and I probably need to do a better job of that with this podcast too, is just like sharing, just sharing a little, when I get those, because sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But yeah, just like I really appreciate that on y'all's end, and I got a lot of positive reception, especially for that KIPP Keller piece, because KIPP was going through it, and he had a bad game. You could say that.
You
could say that again.
But
again, the whole point of that piece was like how we support our players, and we've got to support them in the good and the bad, and I know he's with Austin FC 2 right now, so we'll see what happens with him. And like I said, whenever he comes back to Q2, if he does, like I'll be there, cheering loudly for him.
Man, I hope he comes to you and be like.
I did send him a message on Instagram. I mean, he didn't respond. Obviously, I wouldn't have expected him to, but like things like that, like just like trying to like, he's a kid, man. He's probably like 22 years old. And exactly, and people are just like trying. I don't know. So yeah, we just got to be positive with our football club. Let the results be where they may, but at the end of the day, like this is our club, and the players will come because they feel loved and respected by the fans, by the supporters. So we got to continue to do that. En las buenas y en las malas.
Yes, sir.
Ooh, this is going to be an actual reel right here before the game on Saturday.
Nice. Last thing I wanted to mention on the personal note, we're going to have some changes on my end. This is my second to last episode with Otra, por favor. I will be I would be kind of like going more into it, but I just wanted to let everyone know that the next episode will be my last, so it's been a hell of a run. I can't wait to record the last one and make it a banger.
Yeah. Let's do it. Yeah, man. We'll talk more on it. When it comes, and you'll be the highlight of that episode.
Yeah, you'll be the
so you'll be like in the middle seat,
I hit spotlight.
And I'll be asking you questions. I'm gonna have the spotlight, like literally those lights. We're gonna be like right above you, like an interrogation.
It's like an exit interview. Damn.
There you go.
Yeah.
Appreciate everything you've done, Koke. It's great, and we'll talk more when it comes in the episode.
Yes, sir.
We got I got something cooking, which will be good.
Looking forward to
that. But yeah, I think anyone that's for me is anyone that's looking to create something, do it. Yep. Do it. Don't think about it. It probably won't be the best at first, but at the end of the day, it's gonna get better over time. Whether it's writing, taking pictures, drawing, music, anything.
Anything that gets you going.
Anything that gets you going, go for it and do it. Because the worst part is when you don't do it. Like earlier, I heard that it's not that curiosity killed the cat, is hesitation. So
facts.
Yeah, man. This is another episode of Otra, por favor.
Otra, por favor.
Se cuidan, se portan bien. Adiós y arriba la América. And let's beat the shit out of LAFC.
Yes, let's go, boys.
Let's go.
All right.